Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 78. We have our other host here, Connor. How's it going, buddy? How are you?
What up? I just realized
How?
how red I look on this because I shaved earlier and it's all like marked like crazy because of it.
Yeah,
So that's why.
I was wondering, you look a little bit more like clean shaven, so it
Yeah.
looks
I was
nice.
like, I was trying to get everything off and then I realized it just made a load of little cuts all over the place. But hey,
No more Fitz look,
it
man.
happens.
No more Fitz look. I really need to shave mine. Mine's getting it's
No,
getting
yours
out
is
there a
great.
bit. I need
Yours is
to.
really like suited for March, for Paddy's Day and for Irish Day and all that.
I've always heard that where I
Yeah.
do look a bit like it does come out in me a little
Yeah.
bit. But
A little bit.
how are you today, Connor? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm not bad. I'm pretty good. Today we're talking about the Oscars, the
Hell yeah.
2024 Oscars, which we talked a little bit about last week, which I kind of now I kind of wish we didn't. I kind of wish I would have just saved it for this week. What we were kind of talking about it.
Sure, yeah.
Did you actually you didn't actually watch it, right? You just kind of heard the
No, it's
news
really
about
hard to
it.
watch it live
Yeah,
in Ireland, so I just
sure.
like looked at all the live tweets from like discussing film and that, kind
Mhm,
of kept up with it, and then anything that was kind of random little funny moments I saw the next day whenever
sure.
anybody would post them.
That's very fair.
Yeah,
I usually really enjoy watching them, and I think there's always a part of me that does feel a little bit like an imposter kind of around Oscar season, because I don't know the filmmaking world as much as I wish I do. I don't know all the actors, I don't know all the directors. It just kind of feels like I'm stumbling through the vast
I
world
mean,
of the
you're a
film
film
world.
fan,
Yeah,
like you like films, and the Oscars are about celebrating the films,
sure.
so you're there for that.
100%, which is I feel like this year especially, and I think it's always about that, in their joke sections, but this
Yeah,
year especially, it felt like there was a lot of this thing sucks. Let's laugh at this thing.
I've
And it's
seen a lot of those. Like a lot of
us.
people like tweeting about that, where it's like, why are they always getting people who are making fun of films to host the Oscars? And same thing was like Ludwig Göransson when he was accepting his Oscar for Oppenheimer for the score, and he was like, "I'm so happy my parents didn't let me play video games." It's like,
Yeah.
why are we letting people on stage if they're just going to make fun of other things here?
Right.
Like, you know?
No, there was a lot of that. There was
Yeah,
two Madam Web jokes. There was a Transformers joke. There was an
yeah,
Oppenheimer joke. Weirdly enough, they're like, it's too long. It won Best Picture. What are you
yeah.
doing? Making fun of how long it is. It's probably why it what it's. I personally don't. I think there's a I kind of have an issue with the jokes part of it just in general, because I
Yeah.
never think they're good. I always think
They
no
never
matter
land.
how no matter how good it is, I never think they're funny. And again, I don't know if that's always on the host. I doubt they're the ones actually writing the jokes. They're just saying it probably,
Yeah, yeah, for
which
sure.
is probably just a bigger problem. It's whoever you're going to get, it's probably going to be unfunny either way. But
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think as
know.
well that the jokes sometimes feel like they feel like they're a few months old, kind of like
Mm,
the Madam Web jokes. Like, yeah, it's more topical than usual, but I
yeah.
still feel like those Madam Web jokes are like were funny back in November. Like we're making fun of that
Yeah.
Amazon rainforest line. Like everybody was
Yeah.
talking about that 6 months ago, and we've got a joke about it now in the Oscars. And it's like, sure, it was funny 6 months ago, but it's kind of been beaten to death by now. So
Yeah. And it's also just super niche.
yeah,
I feel like that's such a niche TikTok thing. I feel like a lot of these filmmakers are probably what are they talking about? What is the context to this joke? I don't understand. Um, but yeah, I'm not. And it's kind of a weird. We have a comment here. Ryan's Gosling's "I'm Just Kidding" performance was my favorite. That was a really fun one. They were having fun with the Barbie stuff, I think,
I
because they
love the
had two
video of
songs.
Scorsese watching it.
Yeah. I love when they always pan to him. It's always so
Yeah,
funny because he always has, even if he doesn't think this thing is dumb, it always just looks like he thinks everything is dumb. It's always so funny.
he's always over it.
Fully. No, it's hilarious. No, I thought it was a lot of fun. Stranger in the house. Stranger, how's it going? I hope you're doing well today. Trying to think, is there anything else I want to just talk about? Just kind of I liked the Batman bit. I actually thought, I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if the
with
Batman
Keaton
bit, I
and
thought that was really funny.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
just
was pretty cool.
it was just naturally just funny. I thought
Yeah,
it was one of their best jokes. I thought what are your thoughts on the John Cena stuff? Because that's got a lot of controversy around it. I kind of thought it was funny. I kind of thought it was a good joke, but a lot of people did not like it.
yeah. I thought I didn't really have too much kind of thoughts on it. I was like, it's just a funny joke, but it's like John Cena's just good with that sort of stuff where he'll like
Yeah.
make fun of those kind of things. Like you won't see like The Rock doing something like that where it's kind of a joke at his
No, he
expense,
would
which
not.
that
No.
joke was at Cena's expense and he was all into it, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. Like I respect that.
Yeah, no, it's like a great bit. Like, this is the
Yeah.
award for fashion while I'm naked in front of thousands of my colleagues. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really funny joke. Like, I've heard a lot of people being like, John Cena's a kid icon. He should be protected. And it's
From
like,
what,
he
Fred?
did Suicide Squad. He
Yeah.
was. I think we saw his dick in the Suicide Squad movie.
He
Like,
made enough
it's
jokes about it anyway, about that
yeah,
sort of
no.
stuff.
He has an OnlyFans now. I mean, he doesn't upload on it. It's
Yeah,
for
that's really
the
funny.
character, but like I thought that was really funny just to
Yeah.
kind of see the outrage on the internet. I don't know, it's weird.
It's like it's things like that. That was like, I don't know. It's like the John Cena thing felt really natural, and same with like the Michael Keaton Batman stuff. That felt really natural as
Yeah,
well. But it's like the actual scripted jokes that were on stage. Like Jimmy Fallon, was he the host?
Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah,
Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, I was sorry. I don't know the difference between any of them.
sure.
I just know American
There's like
hosts that
three
have
Jimmys.
similar
There's like
names.
three host
Yeah,
Jimmys, so it's I
like
get it.
whatever American host it is this year. But it's like I don't know. I always feel like those scripted jokes feel forced,
Yeah,
whereas like the more kind of just actors doing goofy things feels like natural and feels like it's much more
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like each year they're like, it's going to go over, it's going to be too long,
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, because you spend 50 minutes of the Oscars doing these
yeah,
stupid jokes that no one likes.
yeah.
I don't think anyone would be mad if you just cut out. Like, I get you need some in between stuff to make it. Like, I get that, but like, I don't know. Maybe let the speeches be a bit longer because they always
Mhm.
rush them off the stage while they're doing their speech. It's like, what? I'd much rather hear why they're so happy that they won this award than Jimmy Kimmel talk about Madam Web. Like,
Yeah,
that's just me, but.
for
I don't
sure,
know.
for sure.
It's a weird one, but I will genuinely say, like, I know you didn't watch it, but I did think this was actually a really solid year as far as like, especially over these last couple years of feels like each year there's been something. Like you had the
Yeah,
like 2016 issue with your La La
La La
Land and
Land
stuff
and like
like
the
that.
Will Smith stuff.
Will Smith, the Black or not, it wasn't Black Panther, but it was the Chadwick stuff.
Oh
That
yeah, yeah, where they thought he was going to win, but then it was Anthony Hopkins or something like that.
yeah, I thought
Yeah,
last year was solid as well, but like even then they had the like Jamie Lee Curtis thing that was like
yeah,
that's a bit weird. That's a bit off. I don't know how I
yeah,
feel about that. Um, but yeah, later on we will be going through and kind of ranking, not ranking somewhat, but also just kind of going over some of our favorites, kind of how we're going to just kind of go through all the movies and say where we would rank them. We maybe have a guest
yeah.
coming in a bit later. If not though, it's just
Who?
going to be us chilling for an hour. Some mountain man. I'm not really sure.
Some guy lives in the mountains. I don't know.
Some guy. Before we get into like our main news stories though, Connor, what did you watch anything cool this week? Did you consume any cool
Did I
media? Because you've been
consume
going
any
through some cool
media?
stuff, right? You've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
binge or
Uh,
something.
I watched, I think, maybe 15 movies since last
God,
Thursday.
gosh,
Yeah,
dang.
I think I pretty much did like outside of Oppenheimer and Barbie. I think I did pretty much every Best Picture for the first time since last week, and then I watched like Society of the Snow for the first time, and that was fantastic. I watched Iron Claw for the first time. That was also
Mhm.
fantastic. I did watch Dune 2 again. That was amazing. Then like yeah, all the Best Picture films. So like Poor Things,
Yeah.
Past Lives, Maestro, however you pronounce it. um, what were the other films? Oh, Anatomy of a Fall, which is great.
Mhm.
Um, and then TV wise, Masters of the Air, Walking Dead, Once You Live Again. Um, started Tracker, which that was pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
a lot about that.
finished Reacher, watched the final of Reacher, watched the final of
Mhm.
Fargo.
What'd you think of
Uh,
it? Of
I
the
liked it.
season two? Season two, okay.
I really like season two. He's so cool,
Really?
man.
Okay.
When there's a certain character who he's thrown out of a helicopter, and he's like, "You're assuming you have the information I want, but assumptions kill," and he just throws him out. It's so cool. I really like it.
Oh yeah.
It's like a better Jason Statham film is how I feel
Mhm.
about Reacher.
That's fair.
Uh,
I thought season
yeah.
two. I feel like I'm not even sure if it's a hot take now. I wasn't a huge fan of the second season of Reacher. It wasn't like bad,
Mm,
but I think like in comparison to the first, I did think it was a bit of a letdown. And like we had talked about it for the majority of the season live
a
over
little bit,
on our
yeah.
other show, and that was very fun. And each week And maybe that was the issue with it, was us just breaking it down more instead of just like, if like with season 1, we were literally just like, we just watched it, like we just binged it, like there wasn't a like
Yeah.
dissecting week to week.
I
And
think I
maybe that's a
remember
show.
season 2 better, like because season 1 was just out and gone.
Sure. Yeah, and I think maybe talking about it weekly maybe did a disservice to it, because I don't think Reacher is supposed to be this like grandiose, top notch show. I think it like
Yeah.
I think the fun of that show is like Reacher punching people and that being okay, and just
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Alan being this very charismatic, fun character. And I actually think maybe this hot take, I almost think Reacher would almost work better in like a movie format. Like I think he would work very well in this like um kind of just like your action film type format. I don't know. I think as good as it was, because I think like it's not bad TV by any means.
Yeah.
It's really not, like, especially all the bad TV that we end up watching. It's not bad, but I do think just in comparison to the first, I wasn't a huge fan.
I do disagree a little bit there, not in the
Okay.
quality. Like I think it's I can't remember much about season 1 because it was out like a year ago. Watched it all in the span of a day, but I have seen a lot of people who feel the same way as you, that like
Yeah,
thought season 1 was a lot better than what season 2 was. But I slightly disagree on the movie to TV format,
that's
because like
fair. That's fair.
there's the 2 Tom Cruise Reacher films, and like I think those films just so much
No,
that I think
that's
the
fair.
TV show fleshes out more. And I think one of the main strengths the TV show has over the Tom Cruise movies is that the TV shows have been really good at fleshing out the supporting cast outside of Reacher,
Mhm,
which I feel like the
sure.
movies never really got a chance to do. Like, there's no one in the Tom Cruise films that I care about as much as like the team from season 2 or the main tree from
Mhm.
season 1. So I think but I think there's also they can make it work better as a show. Like there definitely is pacing issues there, but I think I would prefer it in a TV format than a movie format.
That's fair. That's fair. I liked season 1 more than more because of that dynamic between the trio. Felt more connected than the team in season 2. I wasn't a huge fan of the team in the second season. I thought they were the worst part of season 2 personally.
I did like them, but only because 2 of them were already in DC stuff. Like we had Adam Strange from Krypton, and
Yeah,
then Zatanna from Smallville. So I was like,
sure.
they're all here, and we got Aquaman
Peacemaker
or
too.
Titan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Peacemaker too. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
the
kind of
white
felt like they
dragon.
were all just like mini Reachers, just kind of doing
Yeah.
the same thing that Reacher was doing, and I felt like a part of that kind of took away from the coolness of Reacher just a little bit. But
Sure. Yeah.
it's still
Like he's
good.
not as
Like I'm
unique
not.
anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Would you
What
watch?
what did I watch? Not much, unfortunately. I'm very busy, but no, I watched the Oscar movies. I watched 9 out of the 10. So there's gonna be
Cool.
one movie that you'll have to cover for me.
The zone of interest, is it?
Yes, Zone of Interest was the one I didn't get a chance to watch, unfortunately. Although I've heard great things. Like I've heard it's solid, and I maybe at some point I'll have to get around to it. It didn't happen this time around. But
Sure. Yeah. If you're gonna watch that film, just watch it for the sound design, because the sound design
yeah,
is fantastic, like
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. It's also very hard for me to make time to watch like caption films. Like it's very hard for
Sure.
me to
Yeah.
find time and just watch the
Yeah.
movie, not
'Cause you
doing
gotta
anything
engross
else,
yourself
just
in it. Yeah.
watch. I have to sit there for 2 hours and watch,
Yeah.
which is good. Like I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There's other movies I had to do that within this roster. It's just hard for me to find time to do that with every
Yeah.
movie.
Zone of Interest is also just a heavy film. Like the subject matter,
Yeah,
it's like it's not like Past Lives where you're like, it's somewhat of like kind of a not a rom com, but it's like it's a romance sort of
yeah,
lighthearted-ish film. Like it's wholesome in a way. You can go into that, but then with Zone of Interest, it's like darker than Oppenheimer. It's like it's gonna
mhm,
leave kind of an impact, and you're like you
sure.
might not be in the mood for that.
Son, how are you, Chainsaw? How's it going? What else I watched this week? The Walking Dead was kind of the big thing I was focusing on. I was
Hell
like
yeah.
after these Oscars are over, I'm finishing season 5. It's been 2 weeks. I'm finishing it up. I'm so excited. And I think we kind of talked about this a bit last week, but like I think I have for what most people would call the peak of The Walking Dead, like those first 5 seasons. And like, would you say I'm through the first half of the show, or like the first
Yeah.
act of The
I
Walking Dead?
I personally think that getting
The
to
early days.
Alexandria is like the midpoint of the show. That
Mm,
you're officially kind of out of the first part. Now you're kind of in the second half of everything. we'll say though, season 6 still has some great stuff. There
Yeah,
are like,
I'm excited.
I don't know, a dozen moments in season 6 that I love. That I'm like,
Mhm.
this is some of the coolest stuff we've seen from this character. This is some of the coolest stuff we've seen here. And it's like, I think something interesting about season 6 is how it plays with time. There's a lot of, like, you won't realize when you're watching, when you look back, you'll be like, these 9 or 10 episodes took place over the span of like a week. Like,
Oh, really?
it's really cool in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was really thinking about like the time because at this point, how much time has passed?
They're about a year and a half in by the start of season
That's
6.
crazy with
It's
especially
crazy.
with Carl. Like he feels like
Yeah.
it's been like 4 years for him and how he's
Yeah.
grown.
That's just
He had
because
a
like
growth
it's been
spurt.
6 years for Chandler Riggs IRL at that point. So like
Yeah.
it's hard to hide that. But it definitely, you get a sense that like they've been in it for years when in
Yeah.
reality it's like, I think between the prison and Alexandria it's about a
Mhm.
month or something like that. Something like
That's
really
crazy.
really short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost did that same thing where like it all took place in like 2 or 3 years, and it's been like
Yeah.
it's been so long.
Yeah.
How is it only how they've only been here for like 8 months? This is
Genuinely.
crazy.
And
But
then the
yeah, that's
opposite, you
just
have like Better Call Saul, where they had that one episode where they passed over a year or something in just the opening scene. It was like the Kim and Jimmy scene where they're going through all their like montage stuff. You're like, a year just passed in this scene and we didn't even realize it.
mm. Yeah, no, but I think season 5, I've been like back and forth in my head. It's like, is 5 my favorite, or is 4? Like 4 and 5 are definitely like
Yeah.
they keep switching. I do think I've consistently each season has got better and better. And I think
Yeah.
almost each season has done this thing where like the first couple episodes is like, this is really good, this is about to be my favorite. Then there's kind of like a little dip, like somewhere in
Yeah.
that middle point for both season 3, 4, and 5. I think it was like,
Yeah.
this might be my least favorite season. And then the back half starts like, oh, never
It's
mind, this is
great.
the best season. Like it's I don't know how it keeps happening, because like the first 3 or 4 of the season, I was like, this is about to be the best. Like these are so good.
Yeah.
And then I do think the hospital are kind of dipped for me. Where it wasn't bad.
I feel
I
the
think
same. Yeah.
like in comparison to what I feel like is coming, that's probably going to be like peak. But from what I had seen from the show so far, that was my least favorite stuff. And
Yeah.
then this like Alexandria stuff has just been so good. I don't know what about it I love so much, but there is just something so fun about like kind of chilling out for a bit, where
Yeah.
like it's a different kind of stress, I think. And like for the first time, really, like I don't want them to, like, I'm fearful of them being the villains here.
I
Like
was gonna
they
say, like, that's how season 5 really deals it. It's like when you get to the back half and you've got like Rick and Carol in there, and you're just kind of like, I don't want them to ruin everything for
yeah.
this community. Like,
Yeah.
yes, they're naive, they don't know how the world works, but they've also
Mhm.
stayed secluded, they've stayed relatively safe and away from everything, and now you've
Yeah.
got Rick and Co coming in and they're instantly causing shit. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's, I think the back half of season 5, the first time you kind of have to go, wait a minute, are we watching the good guys? Like, are these
Mm,
the heroes? Which I think is really
yeah.
cool.
No, 100%. Like they're like, I definitely probably would have handled things differently, but
Yeah.
maybe that's the way it has to be. Like maybe they're right. Maybe if they don't do that, they'll all die. Like you don't know. You really don't know. I would call Rick in his back half basically a villain. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah. He's
I
there. He's
I
there.
I think I think the moment was in this last episode where he's like, if things go south, I will shoot up all these people,
Yeah.
and we'll take what's theirs. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is like season 3, like this is like the villain of season 3 type stuff. Like
Yeah.
these are people that we would have fought against like 3 seasons ago. Like this is
Yeah,
insane.
genuinely. It's like, have you heard the term Ricktatorship?
I have not, but I love that.
That's something that everybody started using around season 2. You know when Rick gives the speech at the end of season 2 and he's like, I killed my best friend for you people. He's like, if
Mm,
we keep going, it's not a democracy anymore. Everybody started saying that like when Rick is in charge of the group, it's the Ricktatorship.
mm,
And when he gets into Alexandria is like peak Ricktatorship, where he's just,
mm.
it's either him in charge or it's no one in charge sort of thing. And
Right.
it's dangerous. Like he's a dangerous character. He's definitely the
He
kind of
is.
person
Yeah.
you don't want to cross. And I'm really interested to see what you think of the next few seasons on like where they take this sort of stuff. Because I
Yeah.
think season 6 for the most part does continue the kind of the hardened
Oh
Rick
yeah.
we have in season 5. But I think like season 5 probably has the highest peaks of the entire show,
Mm,
I would say. But season 6 continues a lot of that. Like there's a really, really, really great scene with Rick in particular in around the midway through season 6 that's similar to some stuff you've seen already, and it's so good.
Yeah.
When are you gonna like get right into season 6, or are you gonna take a break?
No, I'm taking another break. I'm doing
Okay.
the Bear soon, just to kind of get
Okay.
caught up with Blind Wave. But I want to start it this week. Like maybe end of
Okay,
this
cool.
week I'll get started. But soon. What else was I going to say really quickly? It just like I forget. But no, I'm loving it. I'm loving this
Yeah.
journey. Honestly, I really do want these next 2 to 3 months to be kind of done with the main show and just kind of finish up, get kind of caught up, because the current show's going on currently. Like are you liking it? Are you liking
I'm really
the
liking it,
current show?
I think like
Oh yeah.
it's hard to rank it because apparently the people who have seen the episodes already, like episode 3 came out last week and episode 4 is coming out this Sunday. Apparently people who have seen the first 4 episodes are like episode 4 is one of the best Walking Dead episodes of all time. Like it's
Wow.
easily better than the first 3 episodes of the show, and I thought the first 3 episodes were really good already. Like if I was to like rank it among the stuff, I probably wouldn't put it above the first 5 seasons of The Walking Dead, but I'd probably put it above like 7, 8, 6, 10, and 11.
Yeah.
So probably around the middle point, but then again, we're only halfway through the show. So this back half could like shoot it above the best seasons of The Walking Dead. But if
Yeah.
you caught up over the next 2 or 3 months, like you'd be caught up before like Daryl Dixon season 2, because that's not supposed to be out till about June or July.
Oh, interesting. That
Yeah.
might be my goal then, is to get, because like, I was gonna ask that, like when's the next thing after the current show?
It's Daryl's the next thing after The One to Live, and that they said that's just going to be
interesting.
summer.
Yeah, I might try and aim for that. That would be really fun to talk about on here at like
For sure.
every couple of weeks or so. But no, I'm really excited that there's some like good stuff to look forward to, because there is definitely this idea of like, well, it didn't end on, like from what I heard from people, like they didn't like how it ended, or it didn't end on this really high note. So the thing
For the
that
show
like
itself.
like
This-
the
There's 3 spin-offs that came out like as soon as the main show ended. It did feel like the final was kind of like spin-off time.
which see you later, bye bye.
Yeah, pretty much, which was really annoying.
Yeah.
Like after 11 seasons, you kind of want something more final and something more of a wrap up.
Sure. No, that's definitely fair.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, just from what you've said, it makes me think like, well, then you should have just done the main show, but like maybe did like a sub card where it's like The Walking Dead, the one who lives, but it's just season 12. Like, but it's have a different title, but whatever. I don't know. But no,
Walking Dead's had so many like production issues. Like the One to Live was originally a trilogy of movies for years, and then they couldn't get the movies made, so they were like,
was that like
miniseries,
a theater movie, or was that like streaming?
So originally
it
was going to be like 3 movies that went straight to cinemas, and then it was changed to AMC Plus movies, and then it was changed to a miniseries. So I mean, a lot of people thought they were dead. There were like rumors for ages that Rick and Michelle, like the characters weren't coming back. That like because it was taking so long to make the movies, that they were just not coming back. And then when the miniseries got announced at Comic-Con 2 years ago, everybody was so happy because it was like, thank God it's actually happening. You know?
Yeah, no, it's just something they'll be like, yep, I have this coming. Like no matter what, I could still have those. And this is something that we can probably keep talking about over these next couple of months, and as I go through more of these seasons.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. Alrighty, let's move on to our first topic here. Our first slide. Venom, anybody? Venom: The Last Dance will be the title for the 3rd and final Venom film. Your favorite franchise of all time.
So I have a question. For you. Do you think this is just the last Venom film, or do you think this is the end of the Sonyverse?
When does this come out? Is
October.
Post Craven?
Yeah, Craven is August. This is October.
I don't think it'd be a bad way to end it off. I would not be shocked after Madam Web.
Yeah, if Madam Web and Morbius back to back.
I think that they're being like, maybe we should reconsider what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Maybe the like Donald Glover movie, maybe the wrestling movie, maybe all the any plans that they had to morph into the MCU or like whatever. I think they might be like, we're done. Let's go a different direction. Let's do something else. And clearly Sony's going to do something with the Spider-Verse world. Maybe, I don't know. Like I don't know what that contract looks like. I don't know what has to be involved for them to keep the rights to Spider-Man and all that kind of fun stuff.
I wonder
Again,
if Spider-Man Noir like saves them there. Like, does Noir count
yeah,
as something that gets them away with the contract stuff?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd be down if like Spider-Man Noir was their new start to like a universe or whatever. Like I've talked
Sure,
about
yeah,
that. Like I think the shows that have been announced, those sound to me more promising than any of the films that we've had. Like I
for
think
sure.
using actual spider like characters, yes, is not Peter Parker, but the Spider-Man. Like
Yeah,
we love Spider-Man. Seeing these stories with other Spider-Man, that is cool. I think the Spider-Man world, they have stories there that can work. Madam Web, if you like it or not, I don't like that movie, but like that was the right idea. Like using these spider-like characters, like that's kind of what I want to see them go forward with.
yeah.
Do you think that it will be like? Do you think this is it?
I don't trust Sony to like know when to quit. So,
Mm,
but one reason why I think it probably is because the Venom films are like they're not well received critically, but
yeah,
they make money. So, like a Morbius and Madam Web have not made money. So if they're giving up on Venom, the one that is easily like the biggest moneymaker of their
yeah,
little films here, I think this is probably a signifier that they're going to pull out of this kind of little set of movies in general. They're probably like maybe just put everything into something else, like more spider focused films. Because like yeah, you're right about Madam Web. At the very least, it was still related to like Peter Parker and Uncle Ben and all that sort of stuff. Like very, very, very lightly, but it was more related to Spider-Man stuff than Venom or
yeah.
Morbius were. So I think it's definitely
And
kind of an idea to going forward make them be about characters. Like a Sydney Sweeney, Julia Carpenter film, something like that would be really, really, really cool.
I'd be down.
Um,
It wouldn't happen
like they need
now,
to think of
but
that.
I'd be
Yeah,
down for
yeah,
it.
for sure. Yeah, that like it's great casting. That is that. Unfortunately, I don't think anything to do with Madam Web is
No,
going anywhere.
no, just like from a company, but also as an actor, I would not sign on for another movie that has got
Yeah,
this much um toxic um backlash, I guess.
yeah,
Just like from the actors, like themselves to the company to all of these people try like I would
yeah.
never sign on for another one of these.
No,
I
same.
think it'd be pretty dumb to do that.
Pretty career
Um
suicide almost. Like
yeah,
considering how big people like Sydney and Isabella and Dakota are, like they do not
yeah.
need to be dealing with this sort of stuff.
No, no. They're I think they're all fine. Like they're all
Mm.
I mean she's doing this new like nun movie, right? Like
Yeah,
that
I
will
think it's
probably do
already out,
well for
isn't it?
her.
Or
Is
one
it
of her
out?
new films came out because I saw it like it was added to Amazon this week or something.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. I thought it was coming out next month, but maybe it's earlier over there or something.
Maybe it's a different film. Maybe she's in two films that are like new.
Two nun films.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it might not even be that the film. Let me double check actually because I'm curious.
um but The Last Dance is a very interesting title.
Name.
I've some people been like, will this be a musical? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think this will be a musical. Do you know if there's any like significance to like the Last Dance being a title, or do you think it's just like it's fun on The Last Dance, throw it out there?
I think it's just yeah, their way of being like this is the last one, like it's the end. Venom
Yeah.
gonna die. It's Venom Endgame. Get hyped for that. Um, yeah, no, I just I think I hope it's good because like I know a lot of people do like the Venom films. Never really been into them. They're definitely not something I get excited about. But
Hmm.
Venom and Venom 3 and Joker 2 coming out the same month is interesting. Or wait, are they the same month? Is Joker December? Or is it December?
It's
Or
October.
October, sorry, or December.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Venom was moved back up to October. Like I think it was October, it moved, and I think it's back.
Okay. So yeah, so
Which
they're both October then.
that'd be a fun like double feature. But I
Okay,
don't
yeah.
know.
Venom is end of October. Joker's early October.
Okay. Interesting. That's fun. I like it. That's a fun time to be. Actually, that's going to be a really fun. Like next fall is going to be really fun for like superhero stuff because we have those two. We have Superman and Lois. Maybe we have
Creatures
creatures
from
coming
Animals.
out. We have
And Penguin.
Penguin. Like that. Like that's a fun time. That's a
A lot of
fun.
villains.
Oh yeah. I mean, Halloween, right? So it's the perfect
Yeah.
time for all your
And
villains
Suicide
to
Squad,
come
the
out.
anime is probably then as well. Around then.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that they like dropped the trailer.
Yeah.
Um.
I didn't watch it, but I saw it was out.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I mean, Venom, do you think I feel like my only real hype for Venom is like the slight hope in my head that maybe we get some kind of Spider-Man something. Like that's kind of the only like I don't know. Like, I bet once I'm there, I'll have a great time. But there's nothing right now, and also we don't know what the film is about. Like, we don't know anything really about it
Yeah.
outside of this title and it being the last one. But like, I do think we get like a Spider-Man of like any sorts here.
I think it'd be a huge waste if we didn't. Like, I think you can't do the post-credit scene from Venom 2 and then the post-credit scene from No Way Home and have them essentially be connected and then not do anything with either of those characters. But I feel like they might be heading that way because like Spider-Man 4 is so uncertain. And in terms of when it's coming out, in terms of if it's coming out, a lot of that sort of stuff. And now like Venom 3, I think if you can't get Tom Holland to confirm he's doing a Spider-Man 4, I think getting him to do anything related to like Venom 3 is going to be really hard.
I
Plus, I
was
feel like
thinking like I wasn't even thinking Tom. I was
oh
thinking
yeah, like Andrew or
like an
something.
Andrew or something. Yeah, I mean that's
Sure,
been my theory for years, where it's like Andrew's their Spider-Man and he just lives in that little world. But then
yeah,
almost I feel like that's a waste of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Like I've
a
almost
little
feel
bit.
that
Yeah,
Andrew's too good for them. You know what I mean?
I mean, you think they would have been able to hide him, like because No Way Home was leaking, like
Yeah.
the other characters being in that were leaking before they even shot it, like before filming even
Yeah.
happened. People were like they're in it. So do you think they would have been able to hide Andrew Garfield in this? Because they're done filming.
Probably not. I don't know. Unless it's like a CG shot or something. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad Venom's getting a third movie. I think that's good for them. I also think it's hilarious they've got a third movie over like Wonder Woman and
yeah,
Superman and so many of these other iconic characters. They put 3 Venom movies. Let's go! Like it's been one of the superhero franchises to like stay on track. Weirdly enough, out
yeah.
of all this in this weirdness. Yeah, that's all I really have for Venom. But I
As
guess
long
I'm
as they get
curious to hear
Eminem
more.
back for 3.
Oh, we need it. Who do you think the like villain is? Who do you think we're gonna get here?
Didn't they tease another one of those symbiote characters at the end of 2?
Did they?
I forget who it was. I've only seen Venom 2 once. I remember like Stephen Graham's character was involved in something in the church, and then they like teased that was going somewhere. Unless I'm way off on that. Because I remember like the end of 1 teased Cletus Cassidy, and then he was villain of 2, and I think the end of 2 teased somebody else.
I don't remember. I only
Was it like
remember
Toxin? Is that it?
the Far From Home thing, and then that
Yeah.
went away, and I was sad. I was like, yes. I was like, oh no, never mind.
Okay, yeah, it is Toxin.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's the villain.
I also do think it's kind of interesting. Like, he should just be a full-on hero now, right? Like, he's not even like an anti-hero.
Should
They're
be on
just
the
trying to be
Avengers.
heroes. Yeah, no,
Recruit him,
which I
draft
think
him.
is cool. Like, I do think Venom is a solid character that run their own franchise. Like, I think like just like Agent Venom is a really cool concept. Like, I think an Agent Venom movie, like even just in the MCU, I think could be really sick if they do it right.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily think they did it right.
I think Tom Hardy's like Eddie Brock with this Venom showing up in the MCU would just be it would be this such a tonal whiplash, but like in a good way, where to be like he just shows up and he like he always looks so sweaty and like he's on the verge of death every 5 minutes in Venom 1 and 2. So for him to show up looking like that in the Avengers and he's like constantly talking to like the symbiote in his head and stuff like that, like it would just be so funny. I would love to like just see that in comparison to I don't know, Miss Marvel or something like that. Like he's like you got Venom coming out with the ketchup. It's like I don't know, just it would be wild.
Yeah. Secret Wars, and he's got the 1,000-person lineup, and he's just by like your Howard a Duck or something. Like he's just chilling.
Just eats Howard the Duck.
Oh no,
Wait,
not
Venom
Howard.
would do that.
He would. Is a chicken. This is great.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, moving on to our next story here. Rooster Teeth.
Oh damn, you put on this week.
I did. It's so funny because I went to you and I was just like, is this something that you would like to talk about? And you said, yes, I would very much enjoy talking about this. And then I said, screw you. I'm not listening to what you want.
You're like,
I was like, I don't care about your feelings. No, this is funny because like just a month ago, like you were talking about it. I was like, Connor, what in the world is Rooster?
Yeah.
What in the world is this?
Explanation now.
And then this news came out, and my exact same reaction was like, what the fuck is Rooster Teeth? And I was like, oh yeah, Connor did say something about this. Yeah. So Connor, if you want to talk about this one, go ahead, have fun with this one, because I'm like,
all right, sweet. I mean, I like My history of Rooster Teeth, like most people have been with Rooster Teeth since Red versus Blue during like the early Halo days back in like 2002, 2003, because Rooster Teeth have been around since before YouTube, since, video games online were like not a thing. Like they really did pioneer video gameplay on the internet, and they really did start and kind of pave the way for most sort of video game YouTubers we see today. Um, but my like experience of Rooster Teeth completely comes off of Funhouse, because before they were Funhouse, they were Inside Gaming under a banner called Machinima, or under a company called Machinima, and I really, really, really liked Inside Gaming. And then they left Machinima and they joined Rooster Teeth and changed their name to Funhouse. And then it was like when they joined Rooster Teeth as Funhouse, I was like, okay, I'll get into them. So then I started watching like Achievement Hunter and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I really like Achievement Hunter. I really like a lot of the other Rooster Teeth channels, but it's definitely Funhouse is like why this is so upsetting to me, because I just the whole gang over there are just easily the funniest stuff I've ever watched in my life.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've never laughed as much as I have laughed watching Funhouse like play drunk Mario Party, or play like drunk Dark Souls or something like that. Like it's just the funnest thing. Or they did this thing where they'd get really, really, really drunk after a gameplay and then live stream this podcast they called Talking Stockings, where it was them talking about this really, really, really old cop show from like the 80s called Silk Stockings that nobody's ever heard of. And they just sit there and they just talk shit about it. And it's the funniest thing ever. And it's stuff like that that I'm really going to miss.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not an overly big surprise, because like the views have been kind of dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping for the last years. There were a ton of controversies. COVID really, really, really did damage to them, because they had to move from in-person like group gameplays to at home sort of virtual gameplays, where like there was always a bit of a lag between everybody talking to each other, which meant kind of a lot of people sort of stopped watching and never really came back. And then Warner Bros bought them, or I guess Discovery bought them at some point, and apparently this is Discovery's decision to shut them
Yeah.
down. And a lot of people are like giving out about that, and I'll be the first person to hate on Warner Bros. I don't think this is the biggest Warner Bros thing, because I'm like, they were clearly losing views, they were clearly
Yeah.
leeching money. I think any rational company would have thought maybe it was time to shut them down, especially after 21 years. Like
Yeah.
most of the other internet companies from that old have not lasted this long.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be depressing. It's annoying as well, because like Inside Gaming, they after they left Machinima, they became Funhouse, but it seems to be like none of them really are gonna continue as a group after Funhouse ends, so they're all
Mm.
probably gonna go their separate ways, which is
Yeah.
end of an era. But we'll see. They're apparently still there till May or mid
Mm.
April, so they're still making videos till then.
Well, it's always very sad when you hear about, like companies fall and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like when you have I think like companies like this are always even more sad, because it does feel a lot more like not fan made, but like people like small companies building this
Yeah.
from like the ground up and making it their own, and then they get bought by this big company, and you hear the horror stories that come with that. Like you had the whole Smosh thing. Like I don't know how much you like know about that, and
Not
they're
a
like
crazy
parent
man, just kind of
company.
the basics.
Yeah, like what was their company name? But there was the big company that were buying out all these like YouTube channels, and they were like giving them money and giving them resources. So many massive. I mean, Warp Zone was part of that group, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
Smosh,
yeah.
and like all these different channels, and they shut down, and just like these dozens upon dozens of channels are just now like we had to, like what do we do? Our lives are gone. Some were able to get their channels back, some were not. Like Smosh was like one of the rare ones that were able, like someone bought them out, and then they were later on able to even buy it back from the people that bought them out. Like you hear those stories, and it's always so sad. And clearly, there's so many talented people and so many passionate people behind this project, and that they made a lot of popular shows. Now, like Ruby is like fairly popular. I didn't even know
Yeah, it's
that was
really
them.
popular. Yeah, it's
I
like
like
Ruby, Genlock, stuff like that,
yeah.
like that have a lot of big names behind them,
Mm-hmm.
came from Rooster Teeth.
Yeah. Ruby seems like that one that could maybe go somewhere. Like it seems like it's popular enough, maybe like Crunchyroll or something may do
Yeah,
something with
I've
them.
heard that.
So
Yeah, that they might send it there.
yeah.
A lot of the voice cast have like, from what I've seen, have shown some interest in
Mm,
pushing for it to get continued or get shopped elsewhere,
cool.
which I think would make sense. Yeah. I've never actually watched Ruby, but
Yeah.
like I think it's because anime and stuff. Like this kind of
Yeah.
art style is never really my sort of thing.
Mhm.
But I have heard really good things about it. I've heard
They did
it's
a DC
legitimate.
crossover,
They did,
which is
yeah. I do remember seeing
crazy.
that. Yeah,
I haven't seen it, and I actually heard some negative thing towards that event. But it's cool that they got to do that. Like that's
yeah.
something not a lot of people get to do.
Genuinely, yeah. It's just I think it's kind of insane how big they've gotten like
Mm,
over their years because it was like you watch these people from 2011, 2012, 2013 who are playing their video games in just this tiny little office and they're all just sitting there on like three really small chairs
yeah,
playing Mario Kart drunk, and then 2 years later they're under this huge company that
yeah,
is making things like this, and it's just insane how easily it is to go upwards. Like when you're already in that sort of industry and in that space, it's like one degree
mhm,
of separation from the most famous people on the planet. It's
right,
wild.
100%. Do you think there's any chance that like they can regroup under like a new name, or they can sell the company somewhere else, or do you think that's
I
like
think
nah?
probably not, because I think from what I understand, somebody who used to be at Funhouse called Alana Pierce, she is really involved in like video game journalism and is involved in some of the Sony video game developers, like the developer for God of War. Like she's a writer for them as well. Um,
Mm,
she was doing a video the other day talking about how Rooster Teeth is kind of like the signifier that this age of YouTube is over.
mm,
That the age of sort of companies being on YouTube doesn't really exist anymore. Like
mm,
it's just not affordable for companies to exist on YouTube because they have to pay all their salaries, they have to pay editors, they have to pay all these sort of things that is just YouTube doesn't give people enough money for companies to be supported as much anymore.
mm,
Whereas like solo people are still having huge trouble making money, but it's much easier for like a solo person who gets a million views in a video to make money than it
yeah,
is for a company who hires like 10 people and they get a million views an episode or a
sure,
video. They still don't make, like, when you have to divide that out among 10 people, it's not going to last
sure.
long. So she kind of was
Oh,
just talking about how people would not kind of want to reunite under YouTube because they just don't pay
sure.
anymore.
That's very like interesting to like think about though, because I feel like so many channels I watch, like they are companies. Like even a small, like even like a channel like Blind Wave, or
Yeah.
like I wouldn't think of them as a company, but they are. Like they
Yeah,
have
they are.
tons of employees and editors and graphic, people. Like they have a team behind them. Like so many,
Yeah.
again, Smosh is a massive company. They got a whole build. Like so many of these channels I watch, but like once you said it, I was like, yeah, it must be really tough to stay afloat. Like you have to
Yeah.
be really pulling in those views, or at least over on like your Patreon and stuff. Like
That's
you,
what I was
you
gonna
have
say.
to
Yeah,
be,
Patreon's probably a big place for this sort of
yeah,
stuff. Like I think just making money just off of YouTube, those days seem to be long gone, where it's just not sustainable
sure,
anymore. Like if you're getting a million, 2 million views on YouTube back in 2012, 2013, you were doing great. Like you were making money. But
yeah,
now if you're getting those views, you're like what, making the same as somebody who's working at like part time is probably making, you know?
sure, yeah, or like even like music people, like they're doing the YouTube, but also like they're on tour and they're doing
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going on tour now, come follow me, and all this.
Yeah.
Like they have to. It's not just one thing now. People are everywhere. Like it's not just
Yeah.
YouTube. It's
There, yeah. Like
TikTok and it's
Instagram.
Twitch and it's
Yeah.
yeah, they're everywhere now. So
For
that's
sure.
quite
Yeah.
quite crazy. Alrighty. X-Men
Oh yeah, that was wild.
97. This
That
is
was
like
bonkers.
it was a pretty slow news week, and then like the last 2 days were like, well, here's everything. Have at it. So so the current or the I guess the ex creator of X-Men 97 has been fired
Wild.
just 1 week before the series premiere. This was
Wasn't he
pretty
involved in
crazy.
Blade as well? And one cut of Blade was him, and
I
then
think so, and
something
apparently
else
he
was him.
wasn't too happy with, like, he was pretty vocal about it, and they didn't like that too much. I guess I don't know.
Okay.
What's pretty crazy is there's no current like like they haven't stated why he's fired yet, which
Yeah.
makes me think it was pretty bad. Whatever had happened. You like, what's your kind of thoughts on this entire thing?
I think it felt like it came out of nowhere, which means there was probably something big, big, big that happened behind the scenes, and they're like, "You got to get out of here now." It's
Yeah,
like pack up your desk, you're gone, sort of thing. Which is honestly, I don't think it's a signifier of the quality of the show. I think this is probably something to do with. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the hell going on. Like, this is just kind of baseless sort of thoughts here. But I would say it's probably something more related to the person than the quality of the show. I think Marvel doesn't seem to be somebody who just fires people so quickly
Mm.
after the quality of something like this. Plus, I think Marvel would be more quiet about it. Like, if it was due to the quality, they'd fire him in a month or two. They wouldn't fire him a week before the show comes out because they would know how the internet would react to that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
the show was probably fine.
I mean, I've heard the show's amazing. Like, people
Yeah.
that have officially seen it, they've said, "Hey, this is one of the best things that like Disney Plus has put out," and that makes me very
Okay, cool.
excited. I'm very hyped for the show. I just finished my like my watch of the first show. I thought it was a really fun show, and I think whatever the issue was probably wasn't on the creative side. Like, it seems like they just had a really fun time making the show, and it's like,
Yeah.
I love seeing the like behind the scenes stuff with it, like just them talking about how fun it was and all the actors being back, and it feels like this show has been had some of the most like promotion a Disney Plus thing has had in a long time.
The posters are great. I love
Yeah,
the retro style they're going for. Like that's
every day
right up
there's
my
been
alley.
like every day there's been a new poster, a new
Yeah, a new
trailer, a
scene or
new
something like
behind the
that.
scene. Yeah, they are promoting it. Oh wow, and I think that's gonna do very well for them
Yeah.
going forward. Plus, there's gonna
I
be
think the
10
show in
weeks
general
worth
is
of it.
going to do well. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, I think, and of course, like season 1 and 2 are basically done. Like, those are both finished, or we're getting those. Apparently, the creator was in talks for season 3. Like, he has started talking about it, and then, well, he's got fired.
Yeah.
So do you think this will get canceled after the first 2, or do you think there's a chance
Nah,
of
I
it
think they'll
season
keep
3?
going. I think they'll just get a new creator. Because if they've got 2 seasons already bagged, that means they don't have to have a season 3 ready to go for like 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
So I think it's plenty of time for them to get somebody new. And
Sure.
like, I'm not sure what the status of the creators of the original X-Men show are at the moment. But bringing some of them back could be cool. Like getting them
Yeah.
to maybe headline a 3rd season.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know where they're at. Are they still alive? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure myself.
I have
I'm gonna
no
double
idea.
check that because I don't want to be like, yeah, get them back, and then they're just not around anymore.
Dead 15 years ago.
Clear.
It's like, oh no!
The day after the show ended.
No. No, but yeah, like it all looks good to me. It comes out a little less than a week now, and I think it's all going to be a really fun journey. I'm excited. Are you planning on like going through the old show, or you are?
I might start it this weekend, binge it, and then hopefully be caught up by like episode 3 or 4 of this one.
Cool.
I'm excited though. I'm that theme song is so iconic. Like,
it's great.
I think the X-Men 1992 theme song is more iconic than the Batman the Animated Series theme song.
Don't
come at me.
I would argue this is one of the most iconic theme songs of all time. Like, I'd say it's like top 3. I don't know what else is in that category. Maybe like Friends. Like, Friends is pretty damn iconic.
This is just that you're waking up on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
This is like the anthem that you're hearing.
Yeah.
Like, this is blaring all around you.
Which they should put this out on Saturdays. I don't understand that choice. Like, it should come on. It should drop Saturdays like 10 o'clock. Like, that would be so perfect. That'd be really fun. Well, I mean, I guess my 10 and your 10 would be different things, but like,
yeah, it would probably be like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock my time. But I mean, even then, like Saturday's afternoon is a cool time for it to drop. Like, I'd be down for that.
Wednesdays, hump day. I don't know. All
right. I hate streaming's obsession with Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yeah, I get it, but couldn't have a Saturday. All right. Despite the film controversy, Scream 7 is still in the works as Neve Campbell is set to return as Sidney Prescott. Last time we talked about this, you hadn't watched them, right? Like, you're not like a Scream movie fan?
No, not yet. I will, though. I will get to them at some point, but not currently.
Okay, cool. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this? Just like the controversy as a whole? Like, last time we had talked, this was a very pressing issue. Like, this was very fresh. She was fired, and then her co-stars were leaving as well, because she's not part of it. We're not going to be a part of it too. Yeah. And the like Neve Campbell convos were very popular. Where like it was rumored that they were going to try and get her back. She had said no originally, but like apparently that didn't stick. I mean, just as like a film person, like what's your opinion on all like the controversy stuff?
Insane. I'm honestly shocked that they have not done something to get the person they fired back.
Hmm.
I think, especially since the backlash was enormous, like it was huge, and on top of that, I don't know. It's just it's weird because I think Hollywood and the general like audience are so both different in terms of how they're approaching what the controversy is about.
Hmm.
Like, because you even saw that the Oscars, the only person to really speak out about this sort of stuff was the director of the Zone of Interest. Like everybody else was kind of just
Yeah.
silent enough on it because it's still very much a you don't talk about this in Hollywood sort of thing. Like you stay away from this. Like you talk about this, we're going to fire you from whatever your project is. And I think that's still a case of Hollywood feels like in some ways that it's still 20, 30 years behind
Yeah.
where where they should be. Because if this kind of stuff is still causing them to completely destroy a film franchise that was doing amazingly, like Scream 5 and 6 were doing so well for Paramount and for everyone. People loved them. And they just completely destroyed that and all that goodwill just because they're like, no, you can't talk about this really important topic that the
Yeah.
world is talking about. The fact you mentioned this on anything is a no-go. You're fired.
Yeah.
We're gonna
That's absurd.
completely redo the film. It's like stupid. Um, Obviously not to get like too much into the politics of it all, but I think in
Yeah.
general, like, and not to speak for the internet either, but I think it's from what I understand, like most people who are sort of in the, I guess, the film sphere or just in the film audiences, stuff like that, are very pro-Palestine, and I think Paramount are kind of they're showing that they're uh, on the opposite side of what a lot of their audience is, and I
Yeah.
think that that's not good as well. Um, I don't know. It's just to say how when was she fired? It was like a year ago at this point, was it?
No, that this
Okay,
was
like
around
summer.
Thanksgiving. No, this was like around the holidays. Like this was around
Really?
Christmas. Yeah, no, it's rather recent. Yeah, because
That
like
she
I
was fired from Scream?
yeah, it happened because I think it was like Christmas. Like it was Christmas week because no, maybe
Oh wow!
Halloween. No, I mean Thanksgiving. I think
I
because
thought
like
this
I
was like
remember going to like a
November.
Thanksgiving
Or...
party and I was listening to like Real Rejects talk about it live and I was like, this is how I'm gonna spend my holiday is
Damn,
listening to that stream.
that felt like
Um,
so much longer ago
no, it feels like
to
it's been
me.
forever. Yeah, no,
Damn,
it's yeah, I think it was like fall. It was like late fall or something when
that's
that
crazy.
all came out. No, I'll be honest. I have no personal interest in Nev coming back. I know you haven't seen them. It's a very hot take. I've never been a huge fan of Sydney. I
Okay,
think she's a like I think she's a fine. I think she's fine. I think she works as like your main lead. But I for someone that didn't grow up with her set of movies and I had kind of jumped in, for like the theater films with this new cast of characters, I fell in love with this new cast. I loved
sure, yeah.
these. I loved 5 and 6. I really did. I loved this cast more than the previous cast. Again, I know it's a very hot take, but I think not letting
I
the
mean,
fact that
it's
we
your
can't.
Scream cast. Like it's the people
Yeah,
who you want to see. So I get it.
yeah, no, fully. Like, and I think especially the way they ended Scream 6 is like you setting up for that final film that I think should be this very bombastic ending to this trio. And I think after that trio, I was like, all right, so then after that, you do a new cast with this new set of characters. Like, I think it's that
Yeah,
simple. And I think going back to Sydney, it feels like she had her time. She had 5 movies and she
yeah,
ran that cast and she survived all 5 of those movies. And I think going at it a sixth time feels for me very unrealistic for one person to survive 6 of these encounters. Are you planning on
yeah,
killing her in this one? Each time you do, there's going to be that one person who's like, well, we're going to kill her this time to be different and be crazy or like whatever. And I don't I don't think that's fair for that character and the fans of that character. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this whole thing. I'm not even sure if I'll watch Scream 7. I think just a whole controversy makes it very awkward. Just on, you know, morally, I don't know if I want to do that.
yeah. I think
It's
Paramount's pretty clearly in the wrong, like in this
yeah,
whole thing. Like I think that how they've handled this whole situation is ridiculous, and the fact that I think it feels like a lot of egos on execs really higher up. They made a decision, and they refuse to walk back on that decision.
Sure. I think I would not be shocked if they reached out to like the actors to try and get them back. Like I would not be shocked if they were like, but I think the actress has been very vocal, like, yeah, they fucked up and now they're gonna have to deal with it. And
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if she's like, no, I won't come back. Like, you mistreated me, and like obviously like the Wednesday like she's not going to come back. Like she doesn't need Scream. She's beyond Scream at this point.
Yeah.
Like, she has Beetlejuice and she has Wednesday and she has all these major franchises. Like, anyone would be lucky to have her in their like, you don't need them. So
yeah, sure.
I was just like at this point inside the conversation, I was kind of at the point where just cancel Scream, pause it for now.
I've
Maybe
seen
in
a lot of
5
people
years,
say that.
wait 5 years and then bring it back with like a new cast. I
Yeah.
thought that was their best way of action, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll come out. We'll see how we're feeling when it's about to come out, and like if opinions are different, I guess, when that all kind of lines up.
Sure. Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of people say that, where they're like, they have no interest because the whole controversy and Paramount's handling of the whole thing has just really soured them on this version of the franchise. And it's like, unless it's the exact same cast, but even if you bring back the same cast, it's like they still did this. Like, they still stomped their feet and fired people for speaking what they thought to be the morally right thing to say.
Yeah.
And I think it's showing that there's a lot of people in Paramount who are just kind of shitty people that are like, I don't know. And I think it's just, it's frustrating that if likely a few execs right up at the top have destroyed what was a really profitable and successful group of films just for something like this. I don't know.
100%. Yeah, no, like, I think the franchise will probably forever be soured by just this controversy, which sucks because I think it's one of the few franchises that, I know you haven't seen it, but like doesn't have really a bad outing. Like, I think there's one kind of movie, but like it's not bad. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. And I think it's very hard when you're 6 films in to keep that up for that long. Like, they made good movies. It sucks. But yeah, let's move on. Speaking about things that suck, the sequel to Matt Reeves'
You think the Batman sucks?
It's terrible. I hate it so much.
It's the worst.
The worst. The sequel to Matt Reeves' The Batman has been delayed till 2026. I was really hoping our friend I was really hoping our friend would have been here for this talk. Man, I mean, I feel like this is a conversation we've had for about a year now. Just us wondering, like, is it going to meet that 2025 date? The script isn't done, and we have like zero information about the movie. Are they going to get that out in time? I mean, thoughts on this entire thing?
I mean, part of me was just so excited that we were gonna, for the first time ever, have a solo Batman and a solo Superman film in the same year. I was like, that's just, there is no better promotion for DC than for them to go, oh, by the way, this year we have a Superman film and a Batman film, and they're both coming out. Enjoy. Like, you got a Superman film to enjoy the summer, and you got a grim, dark Batman film to enjoy in October. Like, have fun. Like, there's no better promotion for DC than that. And but yeah, like, it if they were going to get this out by 2025, it would have been rushed, and I would have been worried about the quality. And at the end of the day, the quality matters most. Like, you don't rush it out just to match what the other parts of DC are doing. Like, concentrate on getting a good film out.
Yeah.
And well, it's going to be a super long gap between the two films. You got to remember
4 years,
that, like,
right?
Yeah, 4.5 years, I think. That you got to remember that the first film was delayed so much because of COVID. Like, it was supposed to come out ages before it did. The strikes really impacted the script stuff. Matt Reeves has been busy on stuff like The Penguin as well. Like, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a good film. I think waiting this long means it's going to come back, and we're going to be like, thank God they didn't rush this out, because it could have been terrible.
Yeah. No, you're definitely right. I would have. I'm actually not too upset about it. Like, I like the Batman. I think that's a very, very good movie. I wouldn't say I love it though. Like,
Sure,
I'm excited for a new one, but I'm not like, I need the next one. I need it right
Where
now.
is it?
I'm very excited.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see more in this world. But I also think in a year that is so packed, that is 2025.
It's a very packed film. Very, very packed year.
I am fine with a couple being like, yeah, we're pushing this back a year. I think especially in a year for just superhero stuff where you have Superman and Fantastic Four and Captain America and maybe Blade and maybe Thunderbolts. Like next
Yeah.
year is
Blade is
packed for-
2026 now, from what we understand.
Is it? Is
that
it officially?
that article that they talked about, like them dropping
Ooh.
Kang, at the bottom of it, they were like, and Blade has been quietly pushed to 2026 or
Okay.
something like that.
Which is for the best, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think the script is even done, right? It's not.
No, yeah, they're still fighting inside Marvel on who has the best script. None of them do, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
So
Blade, man, it's so easy. Come on. But no, I think this is fine. And like there's also been the conversation of like both 2025 or 2024 and 2025 will only have one DC movie. And I think that actually might be very healthy.
Good refresher for the audience.
Yes, like Joker 2 is a standout. I think Superman will be standouts, and then come 2026, we might have. But also that also opens up with like, what about like Brave and the Bold? Because I think there could have been a potential for Brave and the Bold for 26. Now I say probably 27 for them.
Yeah, I would say like Authority and Supergirl probably 26. Then Brave and the Bold 27. Brave and the Bold maybe Swamp Thing 27.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Supergirl and like Batman could be a fun duo for like the same year as well. Like that seems like a two very contrasting titles, but like a cool like on like a roster,
even then
that looks cool. Yeah,
the Supergirl they're going for, I think, would fit pretty well in with Matt Reeves' the Batman. Yeah, like I think like they go hand in hand. Pretty cool. So I'm excited for that. Do you see that Peacemaker now is apparently happening before Waller? That originally it was Waller then Peacemaker, but now it's Peacemaker then Waller.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, that makes sense because like he said as soon as he's done with like Superman, he's working on Peacemaker, which I was like, priority wise, that's a bit strange. But I don't know, we can kind of talk about that a bit more in a couple minutes. But like but no, I mean, I think this will ultimately be a good thing. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this movie. Like I'm excited to see kind of how we expand on it. And like it's not like we have to wait that long for like the Batman content because like Penguins this year.
Yeah,
I would not be shocked if like if Robert makes the cameo in that movie.
I think he's in it. Yeah, I think he'll be in it for an episode at least.
Yeah, I think I think that'll hold us over now. And honestly, I think franchises that can kind of do that is pretty smart. Where it's like, all right, 1 year we have one piece of this franchise coming.
Yeah,
and then we wait a couple years and another piece here. Like it doesn't because we're not getting that like over saturation. Like it's only every couple of years we get a piece of the Batman content. So it's not like every year there's something. We got something every year and people get tired of it. So I think this is fine. It's sad, but it's fine. And hopefully it's for the best. Like I think Matt Reeves knows what he's doing. I think he's cooking. I think he's
let him cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
I think it's like I really, really, really liked the first Batman film. That midnight screening, seeing that, I think we saw it like the day before we shot our third year short film. So like I was so tired the next day because that was a long film. It was like 3 hours film in midnight screening. Didn't get home till like 4 a.m. and then came into college at like 9 a.m. And I just remember being on such a high that day off of it. Like if people were coming up to you and like, oh, you saw the Batman last night, I'm going to see it tonight. Was it good? And I was like, I'm a Ben Affleck Batman fan. Robert Pattinson. He's pretty damn amazing. He's pretty. You get out of here.
Yeah. You know, he's fun. I'm, and like I actually do think this movie is gonna be very important for like the Batman story because I feel like we don't get to see a lot of like I don't know Bruce Wayne ish. Like I'm excited to see how his character evolves and like I've heard a lot of people like this isn't Batman. This is just this is a weird. But I feel like we have to watch his story grow. Like let him become the character that we know he's going to be. And it's so clear with what they've done so far. That's exactly what they're doing. So
I think so as well. I think like there's a lot of elements here that I think that the first one laid a lot of really good foundation for them to build on pretty heavily in this one.
Yeah. Fully. All right, our final story. Peacemaker season 1 won't be canon. According to James Gunn to the DCU. We've kind of talked about this a little bit too, like the status of Peacemaker, what's going on with season 1. This is something you've been very passionate about, being like how people look at season one of Peacemaker or season 2, where
Yeah.
season 1 was so tied to like the DCEU. But now it's canon. Now that like it's official that that's what's going on. What's your kind of thoughts on this entire situation?
Like, I get it, I understand it, think it's the right decision because the only thing that makes sense. But also, this is going to be so confusing to a general audience. Like, the people who are not online and involved in everything that's going on here, they're going to watch the first season of Peacemaker and then go into season 2 and then find out the first season isn't actually the season 1 from the show, and they're like, what? Like, I know that the answer is probably just going to be that everything in season 1 that isn't related to like the Justice League of the DCEU still happens in the current DCU. So like the same stuff with Peacemaker's dad, the same characters, they're all involved. Literally the only difference is probably that like Ezra's Flash and Jason Momoa's Aquaman weren't ever there. But I just think saying stuff like this, so confusing. I mean, at this point, I would have just, if he's so adamant on having Peacemaker in the DCU, I would have just had a whole new season 1. I would have been like, the other one's a limited series. It's an Elseworlds limited series. This is now this is like Peacemaker new show or something like that. Like, call it, I don't know, Peacemaker Reborn or Rebirth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. But just make it, don't call it season 2. Make it clear to people who aren't involved in the comic book discussion and comic book discourse that this is a new show, because for all intents and purposes, it kind of is.
On a binge, this is very like confusing. Like someone's like, I'm gonna watch Peacemaker for the first time. They don't watch anything else, and like they don't know anything. It's just season 1 to season 2. It's like, what is happening? And like, maybe it won't be a big deal. Like maybe for all intents and purposes, it is kind of one long story, but just in their canon, in James Gunn's eye, that the previous canon isn't canon, if you will, and it's kind of a fresh thing. This is I don't want to speak bad upon it yet, because again, I don't know what he's gonna do with it. Maybe it comes out and we're like, oh, actually this made perfect sense and it worked very well. But this is one of the big first things. I was like, I don't know if this is the right move, James Gunn. I don't know if doing a second season of exclusively Peacemaker is the best option. And like you said, I had the same thought where like, maybe it's like Peacemaker Born Again, where it's like it is kind of a separate show for someone can jump on that for the first time in the canon and just be like, yeah, this is the new world. Again, we've also talked about like in canon talking about it not being canon. Like we've talked about this idea where he like falls through a wormhole and into the world, and it makes sense in the canon. Oh, he was part of this world, but now he's part of this world, and now it makes sense to people, right? But then when that make it canon, like then it would be officially canon. Like
the DCU is still there technically then.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of messy, and like you've talked a lot how you don't think that the Suicide Squad people should be involved. Like you think they should all be new. And like we've definitely, like I've been someone, I don't know if I fully agree. Like I agree, but I also understand why he wants to keep his people, and I think that's fair of him. Like I understand why you'd want to keep your people.
It's just I feel like I'm not saying like nepotism or anything like that, because like every director has certain cast members they still work with, but to me this feels like he wants both. He wants what he personally worked on from the DCEU to still matter in the DCU. And I just personally think that's a bad decision. Not for comic book fans like us who are completely aware of different continuities and that. But for the people coming in for the first time, I think you've just got to start fresh. You've just got to make it clear like nothing is the same. And I think having it go Creature Commandos, Superman, Peacemaker Season 2 as your first 3 projects in what is supposed to be a new universe, other than Superman, is not a great way to start off. Which is what I think, though. Like, maybe these will come out, they'll be great, we'll love them, we'll be like, this is the best way to start it. But at the moment, I'm like, I'm not convinced yet.
No, that's completely fair. I definitely get both sides of it, though. Like, just from a perspective from him, like, imagine like Zack Snyder, where like, all right, you're now the head of DC, but you can't use Man of Steel characters or Batman v Superman characters to be like, wait a minute, no, I worked on these guys for years of my life. I'm not going to start over with this. Like I can understand that point of view, and I think like I think if Peacemaker was just kind of moving over without a season 2, I don't think I'd have a big issue with it. If he just was just there, like, you don't have to see anything to like, do anything. But I do think the fact that there is a season 1 and then a season 2, that is just confusing. Like,
Yeah.
it is inherently confusing.
It is, yeah.
So we'll see what they do. I don't know. Like, maybe we start the show where it's like James Gunn is like, "Hello, guys. This is not canon. Don't worry about what happened prior. This is my new show. Okay, have fun," or something like that. I don't know what you do. I
agree.
It's confusing. It's wild.
I think the way maybe I would have done it is make sure Waller comes out first, have Peacemaker in Waller, have him be really confused in it, have him be like, "Wait, why is that Superman different?" And then everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" And then sort of leap off of that into a new Peacemaker season, where in his own Peacemaker season we have him like explain what happened in Peacemaker season 1. We see little kind of like clips of the season play out, and everyone's like, "Nope, that's not what happened here." And he's like, "What?" That sort of thing. Like, I think just having a straight up Peacemaker season 2 is so weird.
Yeah. Like a Deadpool type character. I mean, I would even like, we've talked about this previously, but like, how much easier the Flash could have made everything if they had better planning. Like, I literally love the idea of you ending the Flash movie with us physically seeing him changing that timeline into this timeline. So it makes sense why characters are staying. Like, there's a Peacemaker, and you could explain that through Peacemaker, where like somehow Peacemaker got caught in the rift or something, and he's like half and half, and he remembers his past, but also he knows that this new timeline. Like, I feel like there could have been a cool storyline there if he could have
for sure
bridged those gaps a little bit better. But
I think for them, they might have been worried of like directly tying the DCEU
Flash,
into this then.
No,
and be like the DCU and the Flash. If you want to see how this universe became that, watch the Flash. Which that's maybe a hard sell.
Flash be that movie to introduce.
Yeah, but I agree. Like from a comic book perspective, that's the way to go. Like, that would have worked.
100%. Alrighty. So we're gonna be going into our main topic here, and hopefully we won't spend too long on some of these projects. But we're gonna be going through the 10 Best Picture nominees of 2020. It's always 2024, which I always think is kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd call it like 23.
Yeah.
I know it's no longer 23, but those are movies of 23. Like, it feels weird to call it 24.
I'm the exact same. I'm like, I personally like hate when they're like, "Welcome to the 2024 Oscars," when it's only discussing 2023 films. It's like, shouldn't it be the
when I was like
Oscars?
making the thumbnail, I wrote 23 and I posted. It was like, I gotta change this. Let's write 24. It's stupid.
It's like irrational people would call it the 2023
Oscars. Or have it take place in like December or something.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that's not a good time to have like a film award show, but like
January,
like January would be a fun
January
time.
would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not January.
It's weird. It's whatever. Okay, I get. I mean, I guess there's all those last minute things that they gotta put in place.
Yeah. Like a lot of the Oscar films only come out here in January every year. Like Poor Things, American Fiction, Past Lives. No, Past Lives is out before, but like American Fiction, Poor Things, Zone of Interest, they all only come out over the last like month here. Anyway.
All right, so we're gonna go through these shows one by one. Hopefully, not spend too much time on them because I know you only have a short time left. But yeah, we're gonna go through them, talk about them a little bit, and just say where we would rank each of these projects. And
cool.
Yeah, let's do it. First up is actually, we talked about this movie last week, American Fiction, which did come out with one Oscar win, right? It was for screenplay.
Yeah, it was best. Was it adapted or original?
Adapted screenplay. Yeah.
Adapted. Okay. Was Anatomy of a Fall the original screenplay then?
I think so.
I know. Yeah, I forget which was adapted and which was original.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, I think this was. Yeah.
Which I'm very glad it won something. Like we talked last week, I was like, I don't think it's actually going to win anything, but I'm glad it came and it got something, because I think the show was a movie was a lot of fun. We had talked about this last week, but like, what was your general opinion on this movie?
No, I liked it. I had no idea what it was about or what it was going to be like going into it. I didn't expect Jeffrey Wright to be like as fun of a character in this as he was. Like, he was really great. Like, one of my favorite performances from last year, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure. What were the other nominees in the adapted category? Do you remember? I'll look them up.
Don't.
It is wild that American Fiction won the same amount of Oscars as Barbie. Like
Yeah.
that is not what I expected.
Yeah,
Out of the
Barbie
Oscars.
was I was kind of thinking that Barbie might get like 2 or 3 of those smaller things. Like I thought maybe like
Yeah,
set design or costumes. But the only one for song, which I'm glad it did win that because that was a banger
yeah,
of a song. And I'm glad that now she's like one of like the youngest people to win 2 Oscars, which is
yeah.
very
I've seen
impressive
that.
on her. That was cool. That was very, very cool. But no, like I really love how kind of in your face this movie is. Like
Yeah,
it like this movie kind of feels like a middle finger to the I guess like the industry and just like humanity of
yeah,
like it felt like they were like, yeah, this is the way we live life is stupid, y'all. Like y'all are freaking stupid. And it's one of those movies like, yeah, yeah, we kind of are. We kind of are stupid.
yeah,
And like you kind of like fall into that like crusade while you're watching the movie, and it's like, yeah, yep, you're 100% right. And I think I feel like comedies aren't typically up in like your best picture noms. Like I feel like
yeah,
you often get
for
those
sure.
super dramas and stuff like that. It was very like refreshing to just laugh. This was the
Yeah,
funny. I think this was the well maybe Barbie, but like this was one of the funniest movies in this category. I was having a blast, and like we talked about this last week. Like this isn't a movie you typically see in a category like this, and
yeah,
I think that's why I loved it so much because it was such a fresher breath air. Being like, I don't have to be so serious. I don't have to be sad while I finish one of these
yeah.
movies. Like it's great. We also talked about like I think last week you said that you liked the ending, right?
I thought the ending was cool.
Okay.
It was unexpected. To me, which was interesting. It was very like a stylistic ending, which I thought was good. Like
Yeah,
they could have went in one of the traditional routes of just wrapping everything up in a nice little bow or whatever, but instead they were like, no, let's just do something a little bit wacky. I think it was
sure.
cool. It was I think it was fitting of the film that it was. I think it kind of it didn't feel cliche or cheesy like I thought it was going to. I
Sure.
think it fit what it was. And like what you were saying about it being funny, like that scene with where where Jeffrey writes on the phone and he's like, I'm changing the name of the book. They're like, what do you change it to? And he's like, fuck. And they're like, we love it. Like that was one of the funniest like scenes I think I saw in a film last year. Like
Yeah,
that was so good.
it was really funny. Yeah, and just the whole thing where like they're like they kill you like that you can't do that. Like it was so funny. I don't
Can't
know.
do
It's
that.
it is
I
very
love that.
funny. I do think it was. I did have it in my ninth place. I have
I
only seen.
think
Well, I mean,
it's eighth
yeah,
for
ninth,
me.
eighth. Okay,
Yeah. Which if you'd seen the other one, maybe it would be eight for you as well. So we might have it in the same.
maybe. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say that the one I haven't seen is my tenth. So I'm just gonna have to put that as tenth when we get there, of course. But
What's
that
your
was my
problem
number
with
eight.
zone of interest? Why do you
I
hate it?
don't know. I don't know. But no, like I again, it's not bad by any means. Like all these films are so unbelievably good.
Yeah.
I do just think it's the one that kind of like left the least amount of like I guess impact on me. Where I was like, this
Sure.
is
Yeah.
good. And now I'm moving on to my next project. Where the rest I have to be like I have to contemplate what I had just witnessed in
Yeah.
this
Sure.
movie.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry, it's seven for me. Thought it was
seven.
eight.
Okay, cool,
I
cool,
just
cool.
double checked there. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I have to see where the rest of your projects land. All right. Let's next up here we have an Autonomy of a Fall. This was the last one I got the chance to watch. What's your thoughts on this one?
I absolutely loved Anatomy of a Fall. I thought it. The court scenes in it for some reason just really reminded me of Chicanery from Better Call Saul, the Jimmy versus Chuck episode. I just I just thought the dialogue and the way they were like going against each other, the
Mhm.
defendant, and whatnot, was so great. And the scene that Sandra Hüller was doing, the scene between her and the husband, where they're just like yelling at each other, it's
Bro.
just it's, it's just amazing. Like it was so good. Like I'm so glad this one screenplay, because I thought
Yeah,
like it deserved it. I thought dialogue
it
wise, it felt so natural. It felt so I don't know. It's just I
real.
think one thing, like the dialogue in any of these films of the best pictures, like there, I wouldn't say I absolutely loved any of the dialogue outside of Anatomy of a Fall.
Mm,
I think Anatomy of a
sure.
Fall was one where I'm like, the writing is what I love the most about it.
Yeah.
Like the technical aspects, there isn't as much technical aspects because, it's not like Oppenheimer or Barbie where set design and CGI and everything is so important. It's it's very much based around the characters and the writing and how they speak, and I think that they absolutely nailed that.
Yeah.
Like the scene near the beginning where they ask the kid to come back and stand at the tape while they play the music, and they get them to slowly talk a little bit louder each time to see if he can hear the conversation. I was like, there's this there's a level of realism in this film
Yeah.
that so many other mystery films don't have. Like, I feel like another mystery film that's they're trying to find out if the person was murdered or if they really did kill themselves or whatever. A lesser movie wouldn't go to the effort of kind of writing in realistic things to do. Like, because of course that they would bring the kid into that area, play the music loud, and see if he could hear it.
Yeah.
And that kid in general was just so good.
So good.
Like,
Yeah.
as good as any of the supporting actor choices they had nominated. Like, it
Yeah.
was, I don't know, it was great film, loved it.
I was really shocked with this one. I think it took me a little bit to get into it, and I think that's just because of my issue with like captions and stuff. Like sometimes it's hard for me to follow.
Sure,
And
yeah.
like this was one of the hardest films in that like section that I've had to get into because it moves so fast. Like those courtroom scenes.
It's a fast film. Yeah.
I keep pausing and be like, what did it say? Okay, like it took me 10 times longer to watch the movie than it would have typically to watch a movie.
Yeah.
But like it's so worth it. And it really
is,
like
yeah.
I like towards the end, I was like, I'm thinking this is gonna be like an 8 or a 9 for me, and like by the mid, like once we get to the court stuff, I was like, this is a top 3 for me. Like this was my number 3 out of all these movies because I think for me, realness is so important, and I think that is so big for me in movies. If I feel like I am watching real life happen in front of me, if I feel like I could go outside right now and see this happening, I think you've done your job. I think that's, again, not saying a movie's bad if they don't do that. Like there's funness of like, like going outside of your world. Like I think that's totally fine as well. But I do think if you can do that, there's just something so special about that. And again, all the court stuff was so fascinating to watch. You're like, I gotta see what happens next. And
Yeah.
the like table argument scene, I think is my favorite moment in any of these Oscar movies.
I think
like,
it might be mine as well.
It's just like, oh my god! Like it feels like like in high school when like you're watching like kids fight, like you have those like tape videos of people fighting. You just like, this is horrible, but I can't look away. It's so interesting, and I think this movie does a really good job at just like obviously you start the movie and like you're on this mother's side. You're like, yeah, she didn't kill her husband. And throughout this movie, there's points where you're like, did she do it? Like and like you're watching it from like this kid's POV of like you're going through the same thing he's doing. It's like, yeah, it's not my mom. She's not a killer. But then there's like, maybe she is a killer. Like, what if she did do it? And you have the pain that he's going through and having to watch his life on point for everyone else to see and learning all these stuff behind, like the pain in his thing is so interesting. And you have the whole thing where he goes and like he poisons his dog. It's like, what are you doing, kid? Like it's so good.
That dog also gave a performance. God damn.
I know, he was so good. Yeah.
But also I love the use of like language as a barrier in this film. The way you had the husband who was a French speaker, Sandra's character who was a German speaker, but both of them having to communicate through English so that they can properly understand one another. And then when she's brought to court and they're like, you need to speak our language as much as possible, it's just, and it adds that sort of extra like
struggling
annoyance and struggle to the court for her side because she's being forced to speak a language she doesn't really truly have a grasp on. And it feels like, not like she's an alien in the court, but sort of she's very much an outsider. Like this isn't her country. She's being brought to trial in, sort of thing. And I love that. Like there's so many just different layers and elements to this film that I think they nailed really well. Like it's got just such a this is happening right now sort of feel to it.
100%. Yeah, like there's another world where this is my favorite, I think. Like it
same.
There's like for like different reasons why it's not, but like it's so close. Like any other, I could easily like switch my top 3. Like they're so like you could just do it. But it's my number 3. Where's yours at?
It's my number 2, I believe.
Number 2, okay.
Number 2 for me.
Number 2, alrighty. Alrighty, up next we have Let's Go Barbie. Let's Go Barbie. All right. I don't think we've actually ever talked about Barbie,
I
huh?
don't think
I
so
feel
either.
like I think we kind of missed that entire era of like the Barbieheimer. Like that
Yeah.
was really fun time during the summer. What's your opinion on Barbie?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the Margot and Ryan are both great. I think what's the most like what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the most interesting maybe? But I think yeah, I'll just say interesting. The most interesting part of the film for me is definitely the production design and the use of
Mm,
color and the use
yeah.
of like the sets and all of that. Like I think they absolutely nail all of that. Um the the story didn't resonate with me as much as it did with a lot of other people.
Mm,
But I think it's just it's a good film. Yeah, I really liked it.
yeah.
It's a film that was one of my favorites of the year when I first saw it, and then dropped a little bit the more the months went by. Maybe I just need to rewatch it though.
Mm. I am a little scared to rewatch it because I don't want my opinion at all to change about this
Sure,
movie.
yeah,
But I had a really good time. Like, obviously, a lot of the fun of Barbie was the big like Barbieheimer
sure,
trend, and sitting there on my butt for 6 hours watching both Barbie and Oppenheimer, and just the experience of it all. Like, I recently like re-listened to the Barbieheimer one that we did with our friend to kind of like prep for this, and like it was such a fun era of like during that time the strikes were happening and felt like film was at an all-time low as far as like the industry and stuff like that. And in all that, Barbie and Oppenheimer, two films that I would consider to be pieces of art. These are artworks of movies coming out, and they didn't tear each other down, but they like built each other up. And it was such a beautiful thing
yeah,
that was happening. And I think for so many people, Barbie was such an experience. And I hear like there's stories that have come out where people are like, Barbie saved my life. Like I realized that I needed to leave my husband after watching this movie because he's a piece of shit and he's a terrible person. And like this taught me something, and it put something in him that made him very angry, and it showed me I had to leave. Like there's so many stories that have come out of this movie, how it changed people and how it affected people. I think is so special. I think it's such a fun, charming movie to watch too. I think
yeah,
especially the Ken character was so much fun. Like Ryan kills that character. Mario does too, but I think what Ken was able to bring into this movie was something
yeah,
special. Where like I didn't think that he should have won, but I would have also understand if he did because he gave one hell of a performance.
yeah.
Like it's very crazy. Um, it is my number 8. It is my number 8.
Oh
So
wow, it's real low for you.
it is low. Like it's not like because it's very funny because I when I think of Barbie, I don't necessarily think of like an Oscar like nominated
Yeah,
movie,
no, I
but
agree.
like
It feels like it's a bit of an outsider in comparison to the
sure.
rest.
But again, like just like our other one, maybe that's the point. Like maybe it's
Yeah,
good that we have a more like diverse list. Like I think the Oscars have kind of taught me like, okay, this is what an Oscar movie looks like. But then it's like, but should it be? Like should Oscar movies be one type of movie, or should there be
yeah,
varieties like Barbie, like your
sure,
fiction?
yeah.
Like should there be these different genres and stuff like that? So but no, I definitely liked it. Just like a little bit less than some of the others on this
That's
list.
valid. It's 4 for me, so
Or oh wow,
it's up
okay.
pretty high, yeah. I mean, to
Hell
be
yeah.
fair though, there's, like, a lot of the films on this list, I I felt quite similar about a lot of them, where it's
Mm,
like, there's only 2 here that I have, like, serious complaints about, and they're my
okay.
bottom 2.
Okay, interesting. Alrighty. Killers of the Flower Moon. This
Hell
was a
yeah.
big boy, man. This one was pretty lengthy.
This is
Um,
a long
it
film.
was.
The
I
Oscars
heard a
hate
lot
long
of
films, apparently.
no. The Oscars loves their big old long boys. No, I like this. There was a lot of talk about this one when it came out. I kind of wanted to see it in theaters. It was like, do I want to sit there for 3.5 hours straight with
Yeah, sure.
a movie like this? And I'm actually very glad I did because this is definitely a movie I like to. I'm gonna pause it here and I finish this later because I feel like I get very antsy when I watch long
Yeah.
movies. So I was able to do other things and then come back to it. And I'll be honest, while it was going, I didn't really like it that much. Like I didn't feel like I was having like a great time. But I feel like once that kind of third act hit, and they like I think those first two acts is all kind of like planting the seeds for this movie, and I think the third act is those seeds growing and us getting those flowers and just being like, this was really good. Like, this was a really impactful movie, and I think the story that they were able to tell was very special. And like, this isn't a movie that I feel like is going to like forever impact me or anything with that. I think they did a great job with this one. I think they told a very fascinating story. Obviously, all these actors that have come in, really, obviously, the star-studded cast, a lot of these faces that you typically see at every Oscars of like these big worldwide faces, and some new ones that hopefully can come back and be these showstopper. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a technical masterpiece. Like, I think
Yes.
the set design, the production design, the sound design, the original song they have in this, the performances, like Leo and Lily, fantastic. Robert De Niro is also amazing. I think it is a lengthy film. I'm fine with long films, but this is one of those films that in the cinema I definitely did feel like
Oh yeah.
around an hour and a half in, I was like, ooh, we got 2 hours of this left.
Yeah.
Damn, okay.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. I'm so glad I didn't see it in theaters. Like,
yeah, because I saw like the first weekend, so it was packed as well, and I was like, ooh, maybe this could have been an at-home watch. But it's I absolutely snubbed. Ridiculous! It didn't win at least one thing at the Oscars.
It didn't?
No, it didn't win a single thing.
Oh, he's probably pissed.
Yeah, because everybody was like saying that Lily should have maybe beat Emma for Best Actress.
That's true.
Not really sure, because I think both of them were amazing. I don't know if I could pick one over the other, but a lot of people are like, should have been Lily. There was some video going around of Martin kind of giving Lily a hug afterwards, being like, "Don't worry about it. Like, the Oscars do this all the time." But I think given how it's focusing on an aspect of history and on a culture that very rarely gets shown properly or depicted properly in cinema, like, this is such a serious subject matter. I think it should have been given more recognition in the Oscars than it was.
Yeah, no, it's fair. That's very frustrating that it couldn't win anything. Like, I didn't even notice, but no, that's tough, because again, it's definitely a movie that, like, it feels like it's an Oscar movie. Like, while you're watching, it's like, yeah, this is a movie you'd see in the Oscars. Like, this is typically the films they kind of go for. So, no, that's very unfortunate. But yeah, it's my number 6, about like the halfway mark, where it's like, I think it's kind of in between my favorites and above some of the other ones on my list. But it's great.
Okay, cool.
It's really great.
It's my number 8, so it's a little lower.
8? Okay.
Yeah, but I still really like. I think I need to rewatch it, because I think seeing it in cinemas with that length kind of did do a little damage to me in terms of how I felt about it. But it's hard to dispute how insanely well made it is. Like, it's very you really can't see much better of a put together film than this.
Sure. 100% agree. Alrighty, Maestro. Oh boy, this is another one that we talked about last week, and I had said, like, yeah, this feels like it's an Oscar movie. Like, it feels like a film that you'd see at
Oscar
the Oscars.
bait.
Yeah. This was my number 7, so it's right above Barbie and Fiction. But I almost kind of want to put it below those two, because I think this was the one that I like enjoyed the least most. It's not bad by any means. I think again, it's a very well made movie. It's also, I think, the one I was kind of least invested in. Like, I kind of put it on, but like, yep, I'm gonna let it do its thing while I kind of do some other stuff. But I think I think the story's a lot of fun. I think it reminds me of movies that I weirdly enough grew up on. Like, it feels like like the movies that my grandma would love, that I would sit and like watch with her, and it feels like it's going back into that time. And I think the way it does the sound, and I think the way it runs its characters, like, it never feels boring. Like, I think a movie like this can be boring, and I was never bored. Like, I obviously I was doing other things, but I felt content the entire time, and it was like, yeah, fun movie, but also it does like nothing like mind blowing. Like, I don't think it left this impact on me that some of these other films had left on me.
This is pretty easily my least favorite of the Oscar films. I think, technically really, really, really well made. I think Bradley did a fantastic job directing it.
Hmm.
I think both Bradley and Kerry are great in the roles that they're playing in it.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't know. I think as a biopic, it didn't work for me because I felt like I didn't really learn a whole lot about the character it
Mm,
was talking about. I
yeah,
felt like
sure.
at the end of the film, I don't know a whole lot. Like take like Social Network. I felt like
Yeah.
Social Network really kind of gave me an insight. I mean, obviously, like films are never exactly what the person was like, but Social
Yeah.
Network really like showed me a lot of things about like Mark Zuckerberg, for example. I wouldn't have known otherwise. This I didn't feel like I really got a lot of knowledge on the person it's based on. Um, I think in just I think my major problems with it are just the writing. I think the narrative didn't hit for me. It felt like I was kind of slogging through this film in a way none of the other films really felt for me. Um, like this film is shorter than most of the other films that were nominated for Best Picture, and somehow it felt longer. I think because I just had such a hard time kind of getting into it. But and yeah, it also kind of felt a little bit all over the place where
Mm,
it was jumping between different stuff quite quickly. It's also just a weird film. Like there's the performance Bradley gives, like it's really good, but there's that scene where he's going like, "I just love too much, but I'm rating it in. I'm rating it in." It's like it's so out of nowhere, like it's so random, and it's not what you expect, which I think is
yeah.
the point. But it also just makes the film feel very tonally inconsistent with itself, in kind of a confusing way. Um, but like when I say it's my least favorite, I still think it's a watchable fine film. It's not like I think it's bad or anything, but in comparison to the other 9 films on this list, this is the one that I'm like, I would not give this Best Picture ever. I could see in another world giving all the other 9 Best Pictures. This is one that I personally would not
Mm,
like getting Best Picture.
interesting. Okay. So Connor hates it. It's the
I hate it.
worst movie
I
he's
hate it.
ever seen.
I hate it.
Uh,
I hate everybody
yeah. I
involved
mean,
in it.
just kind of talking it out, I do kind of think it. Like me saying it's my least favorite. I was like, yeah, I kind of think it should go below the ones I talked about previously, just in terms of my ranking. So, but I'm gonna keep it at 7, just
Sure,
at the
yeah.
moment, because I don't want to jank up my whole list. But, uh, but yeah, no, I don't
It's
know.
your favorite. I get it.
It's my favorite. Speaking of everyone's least favorite, just kidding.
Yeah. Cillian
Oppenheimer won
Murphy from
Best
Ireland.
Picture. Oppenheimer, like the first half of the whole show, I was a bit worried because I was like, it's not sweeping like I thought it was going to sweep in the back. I
Yeah,
was like, nope, this
absolutely. We
swept.
were talking about it as well. We were like, Oppenheimer
Yeah,
didn't get anything. Yeah. What's going on here?
and then it's like, nope, just wait.
Yeah.
We won this thing. No,
Where
I mean,
things had like 3 and Oppenheimer had 0. We were like,
yeah, I
what?
was like,
What is
oh my
going on?
gosh. Yeah, no. I mean, the other half of your like Barbieheimer, I was not shocked in the least that this won the Best
Yeah,
Picture.
yeah.
Like, it just felt like a best. Like looking at all the movies, it just looks like the one that would win Best Picture. It just
Yeah.
felt like that was like the narrative that was going on, and I was not shocked whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I wasn't at all either. Everything it won, I think it deserved to win.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that I would have the tiniest of gripes with is just score, and it has an amazing score, but I personally think Spider-Verse should have been nominated and then should have won Best Score. But
Yeah.
like, since Spider-Verse wasn't even in the conversation for Best Score, I think Oppenheimer definitely was the other, like, fantastic score of the year. And then yeah, what else did it win? Like Best Director, Best Cinematography, then
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., then Killian. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
think all of them deserve to win.
Yeah.
In the areas they won in. I think as well for a 3 hour film, this is one that did not feel like 3 hours to me. Like this is one that I did legitimately feel like kind of flew by, and then maybe it's just because like World War II related films or something I really enjoy. Like I just love films set in that era. So it was like kind of a subject that I was interested in comparison to something like Maestro, where I was not really interested in the subject. But I think just as well, it's like the sound design in this film is also fantastic. The scene where Killian's giving the speech and you've got all the foots like banging on the ground and everybody's clapping, and then we kind of keep cutting between
That's so good.
the nukes going off and stuff. It's crazily well put together. And then
Yeah.
it was a breath of fresh air as well, because I felt like Tenet for me was Christopher Nolan in all the wrong ways. Like I felt like Nolan Nolan can go too far sometimes in terms of the kind of films or the kind of like stories he does and the kind of narrative he likes to do. And I think
Mm,
Tenet was that in the complete wrong direction. And then Oppenheimer was just very straightforward. Like Oppenheimer was just a straightforward biopic that was just really well put together, that told the story really well, and just was a good film. And also just the way Nolan's just been dealing with the press for the film and dealing with kind of the interviews for the film has really, really, really made me like him a lot more than I did during Tenet, where he was like, "Yeah, if you don't like the sound for Tenet, that's just your problem." Whereas now he's just seems like a much more down to earth guy.
sure. No, I mean, I was talking about this like in like the last podcast I was talking about this movie with, but like I think it's one of my favorite like theater experiences just because of the sound, like the
Yeah,
sound in the
yeah.
surround sound was scary. Like
It was
when the
really
bomb,
scary.
like when the
Yeah,
bomb's going off, I'm like in my seat. I
I
jumped in
jumped as
the
well. I
air.
jumped as well.
It's like it's terrifying. Like
It's really
and I
it's
think
so
real
loud.
stuff scares me. Like things that happen, things that can happen, is
Yeah,
terrifying to me. All of these people died, and let's be honest, we could die. Like this could happen.
yeah,
Like someone could just do this to us, and like
yeah.
it's terrifying. And like there's something so spooky about the scene where he's coming up to like the press, and they're all yelling at him. They're celebrating. He's like the way that's edited and the way the sound goes. Like it's such a good. It's cinema. Like it just
It
feels
is.
like
It
this
genuinely is.
piece of cinema, and I get why it won. Like there's like I again like my top three, I would be happy if either of those won, but I get why it won. I think
Yeah.
it's great all around. Great
No, I
stuff.
completely agree. I think it's like it's hard to find better films than Oppenheimer.
It's great.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
I think it's number three
Past
for me. Let me double check.
three? Oh yeah, mine was one. But
Okay.
like again, even just looking at my list, I was kind of like I kind of want to move. Like I could move it around to my two or my three. Like those three
Sure.
could
Yeah.
go either way. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, if
But
I
then
rewatch it, it might move up for me.
sure. Past lives. Yeah, this one.
Oh yeah.
I this is not what I thought it was. I
Same.
thought this was a movie about like reincarnation.
Oh
I
really?
actually
I didn't
thought it
think it
was
was
like
that.
yeah, no, I really knew nothing. I just heard it was this like very deep, like profound film, and
Yeah. Sure.
I tuned into it and I was like, oh, this is kind of like a rom com, and not a rom com, but like a like romance film, and that was not what I was expecting with this one. Um, what were your thoughts kind of on it?
Um, I didn't think it was like a reincarnation film, but I thought it was a film
Mm,
of the two of them meeting each other, like in New York or something. I didn't realize it was kind of that they had a whole history before that.
mhm,
Um, What I will say, I think I liked the first hour a lot more than the second hour.
mm,
Um, I was really, 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 really into the first hour. Like the whole, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes when we have her in New York and him in Korea and they're both just like Skyping all the time.
yeah,
Like I felt like that was really, really, really good. I was really invested in all of that. And then once they kind of had him come to New York, I think the film lost me a little bit. And it got me back at the end. I think that the final 10 to 15 minutes are great.
mm,
But there's definitely kind of a little chunk there where the film had lost me for a bit. Kind of when they're just kind of touring New York and stuff like that. But overall, it's a really good film.
mm,
I really appreciate that, like Korean films in general, or South Korean films are just really kind of making an impact at the Oscars lately. Like
yeah,
Parasite winning a few years ago. So like it's like that cinema is making a huge, just international cinema in general. Like,
yeah,
Anatomy of a Fall being predominantly French and German, Zone of Interest being German and Polish, but Past Lives being Korean. Like there's a lot of really good uh, films coming out of other countries that are finally like breaking into the
yeah.
Oscars in a big way.
Yeah, and like also just like this is a different genre of film than you again would typically see
Yeah,
in a lineup. And not like I would argue this lineup of movie is one of the most like in the years I've watched the most like the divisive group of movies where like there
yeah,
feels like there's comedies, there's romance, there's you have the Barbie and stuff, like you have
yeah,
like
super
coming of
diverse.
age, like yeah, there's something for almost everyone here. That's just super fun. And I don't know, I love a good romance. I'm a real sucker
Yeah,
for it. And just
it
that's
was
not
cute. Their
it,
Skype
it
stuff was so cute.
it was very cute. It very
I was
much kind
rooting
of felt
for
like
him.
a COVID movie. Like I felt like something
It
that would
did a
have been
little bit,
filmed
yeah.
in COVID. Yeah.
Like that
Um,
film with Archie from Riverdale where he was in COVID or something like that. What was that?
Man, I hated a lot of those COVID movies. They were tough.
They were
They were
terrible.
really
They were
tough.
terrible.
Yeah, no. But no, it's very sweet, and it's I like, because like you think it goes one way, like
Yeah.
you obviously think that they're
You
going to
expect
meet,
them
and
to
they're
get
going to fall in
together.
love, and like the whole point is like sometimes life sucks, man. Like sometimes you don't get what you want, and things don't work out
Yeah.
the way you think it will, but and that's okay. And
Yeah.
she's with someone else now, and they're in love, and I loved that character. Like
Yeah.
like I love how he is super kind of not meta, but like he's very in his head
He's
about
chill
how
about it.
he's going to handle the whole
Yeah.
situation. Where it's like he's clearly self-conscious about what's going on, but he realizes that's not the way he needs to approach the
Yeah.
situation, and he's going to, for their relationship to thrive, he needs to handle this in a way that how she's trying to handle this. And he's such a fun character to
Yeah.
watch, and I love the final bar scene, just like how
Final
it kind
bar
of
scene's
comes.
great.
It's so good, and that
I
conversation. And I
Yeah,
love the
I
way
loved
how
how
they
there was no
started the movie
conflict.
too. Yeah,
No conflict
no,
between the husband and
yeah,
the Korean guy. Like they're just cool with each other.
yeah, and that's so easy to do. That's
Yeah.
probably what I would have done in a movie like this. Like it's yeah, this is where you think that the plot's going, but it doesn't. And it's
Yeah.
and again the final shot of the film, the final moments where it's just so silent, and it's so like again real. Like it feels like a
It's
real.
emotional. It's real emotional.
It's great. Yeah, no, I had a really good time with it. I thought
Same.
that's my number 5. Um,
It's my number 6.
okay, we're on the same spot.
Cool.
All right, we're in our final minutes of stream, so we're gonna speed round these next 3 or 4, just so we can get through them all.
Sweet.
Just like a
Here
1
we go.
minute talk, just really quickly. Poor
Poor
Thing.
Thing.
Oh man, I wish I had more time to talk about this one, but go.
No, go for it. Go for it.
No, I mean I love Poor Things. This was the 2 out of the 3 that I watched this year, like or like in theaters. Like
Yeah.
I thought I knew nothing about this film. I knew nothing.
I knew it
saw
was like
no.
half futuristic, half like old.
I knew
That's all
nothing.
I knew.
And we start the film, and there's William with a giant like thing on his head, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening? This
I
is
look like the Bard from
absurd.
Dune.
No, and like every 5 minutes, like I'm just shocked by the existence of this movie. And like the first half was a little rough for me at first, because like this feels wrong. Like what they're
Yeah.
doing here feels wrong. But I think this is my favorite Emma Stone performance. And she's one of my favorite actresses. I think, in my opinion, I know the other girl, she was amazing in that
Yeah.
film, but I think this is one of my favorite like performances ever, because there's no character
Solid.
like this character. There's never been a character like this character. This is something so completely new, and I feel like you can't lean on anything. And she made this character her own in the most unique way possible. And I loved watching her journey. I think again the cast, all of these actors are like some of my favorite roles for these actors that I've ever seen. I think when you're just making something new, like there's all talk. People don't make new things now. Yes, they do. You just don't watch it. And this is one where like this is a brand new thing that's
This
never
is
been done.
crazy.
Like 100%, yeah. Like this feels like you're jumping into a world like Star Wars for like the first time. Like that's what this felt like to me. Not saying this should be a franchise in any way. I'm not trying to say that, whatever. But it feels like you're jumping into a fantasy world like a Star Wars or like a Star Trek or like whatever it may be. I thought all the sets looked amazing. I thought the scripts were amazing. I thought I had and again, it just takes you out. Like there's something about, there's so like bizarre about it, but it's not like jarring. It feels right in this like real like bizarre way that I it's my number 2, but then I'm almost thinking like it could be my number 1, because I think
Okay.
it almost stuck with me more than my number 1. So, but yeah, Poor Things. I thought it was great.
No, yeah, this is a film that like it kept getting me and losing me and getting me again
Oh
and
yeah.
losing me again throughout the whole thing. Like because I don't know, just weird artsy films. They've got to be really, really, really good in the story department for me to like be into them. And I feel like Poor Things was just weird enough that it kept slightly losing me. But then something would
No.
happen and it would keep getting me back a little bit. Like Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo's character was just the funniest thing ever.
He's so good.
That
Yeah.
scene that's going around on Twitter at the moment where he's like
He's laughing.
what the fuck? And he looks at the camera for a second. It's just it's so good. And it's
Yeah.
like based off of this and then the TV show The Curse from January. I think Emma Stone is like one of the best actresses of all time. Like she's just phenomenal. Like she's doing such a good job of playing these just weird, unusual, different characters that really work well in the context of what they're in. And the world in this as well was just so
So good.
unique and well put together. Like those scenes of the ship just going across this like crazy looking world. When they go to, was it Prague they went to, and then the city's looking like crazy with the like really kind of like Bioshock the game. I thought it felt
Mhm.
like, um, and just yeah, it was just a really visually interesting film, and
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
it's like I don't know. I was when it when it was mostly Emma and Mark, I was really into it. Like
Yeah.
when it was focused on the two of them, I was like, this is great. Like this, I genuinely could watch the two of them just doing random shit forever.
Yeah. Mark is so good here. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I never appreciate him as an actor. He's great when he's
Yes.
like he has good stuff to do. Like I want him to do more. Like again, I haven't seen a lot. Like this is coming from someone who's behind on all the film world and stuff like that. But like, I want to see him do more of these outlandish projects. So yeah,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
my number two.
It's my 6.
Oh wow,
Oh,
okay,
no, no, sorry, 5. 5. Past 5 is
all
6.
right, all right. No. The Holdovers, which it didn't win anything. Oh no, it won best supporting actors, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
Okay,
for
cool, cool,
Divine,
cool,
is
cool,
that her
cool.
name? Divine.
Yeah, which I thought was
Yeah.
great. Like I was really
Yeah.
happy that she won that. Like I'm not saying there's some people that were very mad about that, but I thought she did great in this movie.
Yeah. Same.
I thought she was great. Um, this is a very me movie. Like it's very coming of age and in a way that I'm very much into. Very just quickly, like what were your thoughts on it?
I loved it. It's my number 1.
Yeah,
It was easily my favorite
number one. Okay,
film of the year. Not film of the year. I think Spider-Verse is still my favorite film of the year. But Holdovers
okay.
was like easily like of the best picture films, my favorite. I think this is just because I watched this right around Christmas, so it was like
Mm,
the perfect
sure.
time to watch it.
Yeah.
And I just apology, Maddie, and I forget the guy who plays the kid,
Mm,
his name, but they were both fantastic,
yeah.
and um yeah, I really liked it. It's a film I can see myself kind of going back to most years now.
Christmas.
Just
Yeah.
because, like, it's got that vibe. It's got that sort of kind of cozy, kind of wholesome a little bit, but it brings the emotions. It brings the kind of the impact. But it's also it's weird because I watched I think Dead Poet Society for the first time a few weeks before
Very
this, or
similar vibes.
a week
Yeah.
before this, and I came into this and was like, is it just because I watched Dead Poet Society like last week that this is feeling similar, or are
They
these
feel very
similar?
similar. Yeah.
Yeah. They had like, kind of the boarding school sort of vibes to them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it was great. I loved almost all of it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I liked this movie a lot. I wasn't like and maybe it was just a thing where I had so like I like two of like you and also our other friend like went to me personally and be like, you will love this movie. You will think this
Yeah,
movie is great, and I did. But there was a point of me, and it may just be like in comparison to some of these other Oscar movies where I was slightly like that wasn't as impressive as I thought it was going to be. But maybe again that's a good thing. It is a more
yeah,
very simple story. It's a
it's really
a
simple.
story
Yeah,
about characters, and I love stories about characters. It's this very wholesome coming of age story in I think the best way possible. All the characters are so charming. I love the Christmas vibe. Like it feels like a movie that I would love to come back to next Christmas. And I
yeah.
unfortunately watched. I literally watched it like a couple days after Christmas, which or like after New Year's or something, where it's like, oh, I just missed the mark on this one. But um,
There's always
no, it's
next year.
always next year. No, it's very wholesome. It's very fun. It's my number four. It doesn't make my top four, my top three, but
You hate it. You
very
hate
good.
this film.
I hate it. I hate it so much. Our last one
Oh my
here, Zone
God.
of Interest. Number one, the best movie on this list,
Hell
clearly.
yeah! I've been saying. You can vouch for me on this. I was saying Zone of Interest sweep. Where is it? When's it sweeping the Oscars? Um, no, I do have some thoughts on this film. It's so like the most of the film is just the most mundane sort of everyday conversations between
Mm,
characters. It feels like you're just going from conversation to conversation between this family who lives inside the like guard part of the camp of Auschwitz. And because of that, you pretty consistently lose interest in
mm,
what's going on. So I completely understand why people despise this film because of that, because for all intents and purposes, it is a very, very, very boring film.
mm,
But I also really respect it because that's clearly what they're going for. they're trying to make this feel like boring because like it's terrifying how the people who were directly involved in the stuff that happened are just having the most boring everyday conversations while the sound design is having all of these prisoners like
Mm,
screaming and being shot at and yelling just there, like while these
yeah.
conversations are happening you're just constantly hearing gunshots and you're hearing French voices screaming and you're hearing trains coming in, and it's legitimately traumatizing, and
Mm,
it makes just such an interesting film that I feel like despite how mundane the general scenes are, I don't think I'm ever gonna like forget about this film because
mm,
it's just it sticks with you. The ending
sure.
scene in particular is maybe a top 10 ending in any film I've ever seen.
Oh,
Like it's just it's wild. Like I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's just
sure.
completely out of nowhere that you're not expecting, but it makes sense. And then it's also just really kind of hammers in the impact of the Holocaust and everything that happened, and you're just like, this is this is a film. This is a film. It's to me, this feels like very much an outlier on the best pictures list, not because it doesn't deserve it, but just because it takes things in a much more not depressing direction, but it really hammers home the how just scary it was that the Holocaust happened because of how just normal, I guess, these people who are responsible for it were. And it's just I don't know, it's just pretty it's a good film.
Right. One that I totally saw and totally watched. No, I've heard great things. I've heard actually, I've heard both sides of it. I've heard it's not that good, and then I've heard you being like, "It's amazing."
But I
It
like
like
I
and
get why people say it's not good though, because like
yeah,
it's a boring film. Like I
it
was
was the
so
one that
bored.
it was the one that I purposely saved for like last because like if I don't get
Yeah,
around to this, I'm not going to worry too much because honestly I don't think I'd like it. Like just the way you're
yeah,
talking about it,
sure.
that sounds like the least Darren thing possible. Especially someone that has a very like short like focus span, zone of interest, if you will. But no, um, but yeah, I'm glad. Like it won a couple of things, right? Like it won two or three
It just
things, right?
won once. It just won sound design, I think. No, sorry, it won twice, right?
What?
Sound
Yeah,
design
twice.
and
It won.
something else.
Um,
Because I was so happy it won sound design. I
yeah,
was
it
like,
won.
it's the
What
one
was
thing
the
I
other
legitimately think
thing?
it deserves.
Was it?
Uh, best international.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That one is always weird to me because it's like, what's the one that's up for best picture? So I assume
yeah.
that's the one that's going to
Which
win.
I think it's Wild Anatomy of a Fall didn't count as international.
Yeah.
I think that like the film is mostly in French and German. I think it should have
Yep.
counted. I also think Society of the Snow should have
Mm,
won best international. That
sure.
film is fantastic.
But yeah, with that being said, we are going to wrap things up again. Thank you, Connor, for talking film
No
with
problem.
me.
I'm just here
Cinema,
for hanging out.
cinema. We'll be back to
Peak.
superheroes next week, guys. Don't you worry. Don't you
Next week's a
worry.
Star Trek podcast. Get ready.
Totally, not X-Men whatsoever.
Star Trek.
Um,
We could talk about the Star Trek X-Men crossover comics that DC published in the 1990s.
DC published them.
Yeah. DC had the Star Trek
DC
rights for the
published
comics.
Star Trek and X-Men comics.
One sec. I'm gonna pull up a picture. Oh no,
Okay.
wait. It was Star Trek and yeah, no, it was DC. One
That's
sec.
crazy.
Let me
That's crazy.
let me find this. Okay, wait, no, maybe it was Marvel who did them ones because DC also had the Star Trek rights,
That
and
would make sense if Marvel
they did
was the
like
one.
they did like a Justice League Star Trek X-Men crossover, and DC published it or something at one point. But the ones I'm finding here are just Star Trek and X-Men.
Okay, actually, just really quickly, I do want to pull this up just really quickly.
Go for it.
I know you have to go really quick, but I do
No,
just
no,
want to hear
you're
your
all
thoughts
good.
on this. Just very quickly. The Bear has been renewed for season 4, apparently,
Oh, cool.
over on Fox. They're filming back to back. Season 3 and 4 are filming back to back. Do you think that's going to be like a final season, or do you think they'll get more?
I think that they are definitely reaching kind of the. I think The Bear to me is a very Barry-like show, where I think
Mm,
4 or 5 seasons are probably the limit. you probably like
Sure.
for the basis of the characters and for the show it is. I don't think it really should go further than that.
Sure.
But I mean, hell yeah to them for renewing and getting seasons out so quick.
Yeah, that's great.
Because like they're
I'm
already filming season 3. So
yeah,
if they're
3 comes
filming
out in
4,
June.
yeah, so if they're filming 4 back to back, like 4 could be ready by this time next year.
That'd be great. I'm excited to watch it to start the first season. I've heard really great things. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I had a feeling not many people would tune in for this episode because I get it. It's Oscars. Like no one has watched these movies.
People don't
I
like films.
understand. They hate cinema. How dare you? But again, big how The Stranger. Shout out. Again, thank you, Connor, for being here for chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll be back next week. But yeah, I will see y'all on the flip side. Bye bye.